Good afternoon. I'm going to call this meeting to order. This is March 27th, and this is the Children, Seniors, and Family Committee. I'm Sylvia Arenas, your chair, and in order to establish quorum, I'm going to ask Camille to take roll.
Vice Chairperson Young? Here. And Chairperson Arenas.
I'm here too.
Thank you. You have a quorum.
Wonderful. So we're going to start with public comment. And anything that's not listed on today's agenda is for folks to be able to speak about. And do we have any yellow cards?
We do not have any requests in the room, but I do have 2 hands raised in Zoom.
Perfect. We're going to go ahead and hear those speakers first. And those folks can have 3 minutes, please.
Okay. All right. Our first speaker is iPhone. iPhone, you will have 3 minutes to speak. The timer will begin when you begin speaking.
Yes, hello, good afternoon. I'd like to invite all of you to please read Pa Ching's recent op-ed on San Jose Spotlight. She, like many other people, have said that Daniel Little, Wendy Kinnear-Rausch, and Sarah Duffy are putting children in danger. And I mean, all you have to do is really look at the past, you know, with Baby Phoenix and Jordan Walker and many other children who are being abused or have been abused, and they're very callous about it. They don't care, and they won't do anything about it. My own children are being sexually molested, and I've attended many meetings, and I've given all the details, and these are people who do not care about children who are being abused. And many people are calling on for their replacement, and I don't understand why we can't replace these people, because nobody should have the power to decide which children shall be abused and which children shall be protected. They should be mandated to protect every single child, whether there's a conflict of interest, whether they're lazy that day, whether they're getting some sort of kickback. It shouldn't matter. Every child in this county should be protected. And each and every one of you, I'm sure, agrees with this, right? Every child should be protected. But these three, they don't care. I'm sure if it was any of their children, they'd get they'd get a screening today, if they were in my shoes. But these are people who are elitists, who don't care about other people's children. All they care about is their own kids, their own interests, the interests of their political supporters. And it's time. It's time. If we want to make a change in the system, we need to change the people who are exemplifying this bad example for all of the system. And people who have a history of doing bad things to children. We need to remove these people. Please, let's remove these 3 people. Thank you for your time.
Okay. Thank you. Our next speaker is Paul Soto. We are currently unmuting you. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, Paul Soto from the Horseshoe. What I'd like to talk about is the tens of thousands of children that no longer exist within Eastside Allen School District, Eastside Union School District, Franklin McKinley School District, and San Jose Unified School District. That has not been talked about within the context of this particular meeting or within the Board of Supervisors overall. And there's a very significant reason why it needs to be articulated and discussed. When we talk about segregation, when we talk about systemic racism, when we talk about people that have been underserved, all these words that we use to describe what we know, segregation and the historical consequences of segregation are being experienced now. Things that have happened over the generations, the segregation that happened here in San Jose started in 1939 with the redlining map. That was the beginning point. Now, ever since then, the generational consequences of racism has surfaced within the context of our schools. I would remind you to refer back to 1971 case. November of 1971 was when San Jose Unified School District was sued on behalf of Diaz. Now, Judge Manley was the attorney of record for Diaz. He was the one that successfully argued on behalf of Diaz the kinds of issues that were being experienced inside the schools. Well, we're seeing kind of a replay of that now, because that was 1971. So here we got 50 years later, and we have these same issues being experienced, and they're rooted in the economics. Now, the kids that are missing from the east side, they can no longer be assessed to determine what were those impacts. Why did they leave? These families no longer exist in San Jose, and it is not being discussed. It's just like we're normalizing the impacts of this racism that we say that we're against, and we can't do that. I'm not going to tolerate that. As an advocate for the poor, and as an example of all of these racist policies that have been experienced by the Chicano and the Mexicano community and the citizens from both Central and South America. These are the communities by which I speak on behalf of. So I look forward to these particular issues being articulated within the context of this meeting as to why and what we're going to do about it as a.
Okay, thank you. And that concludes public comment.
Thank you. I'm going to read a message to share with our public. And this is because California law prohibits the disclosure of information related to an investigation of suspected child abuse or neglect, we are not authorized by law to speak to the specifics of any particular case, no matter how horrendous the allegations are. California law requires child welfare departments to immediately cross-report physical and sexual abuse of children to law enforcement and the district attorney so that swift action can be taken when needed. The public can be assured that our county takes all allegations of child abuse and neglect seriously. That includes rapid and cross-agency responses to such allegations by the Department of Family and Children's Services, local law enforcement, the Children's Advocacy Center, and the district attorney. All right. We are going to go ahead and move forward, and this is now the segment of our agenda where we ask for us to review our consent items. And I'm wondering if I have a motion. Right now, items 10 and 11 are on consent.
I have no changes to the consent calendar and a motion to approve as is.
Perfect. We are going to approve that, but before that, we are going to hear public comment.
There are currently no requests to speak.
Perfect. So we're going to vote now.
Okay. So that's a motion by Vice Chairperson Young and a second by Chairperson Arenas, right?
That is it. I actually didn't technically second, but I will second now.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Vice Chairperson Young
Yes.
and Chairperson Arenas.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Wonderful. Okay, so we're going to move on, and this is rapidly occurring, a regular agenda. This is our items for discussion. You are all in place. I love players who play. Wonderful. So this is item number 4, and this is receiving annual report from First 5 Santa Clara County. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, supervisors and colleagues. My name is Jennifer Kelleher-Cloyd. I'm the Executive Director at First 5 Santa Clara County. I'm joined to present today by 3 of my colleagues on the executive team, Trina Hudson-Davis, who's our Executive of Early Learning and Care Strategies, Heidi Emberling, who is our Executive of Community Impact, and Mike Gonzalez, who is our Executive of Family and Health Strategies. We like to make titles just really long and complicated. We are also joined by some of our subject matter experts on our team who are available to answer questions if you have them, and they'll introduce themselves as needed as they answer questions. Today, what we are planned to present to you is we want to provide a summary of our FY 23-24 community report. So this is our data that we are required to collect and report to First 5 California. You all hopefully have the pretty copy, but it's also available on the website. And this, just to clarify, is our data from last fiscal year. So this will be the data from the final fiscal year of our last strategic plan. We are now in year 1 of our new strategic plan, and after we cover those highlights from the community report, we will pivot to share some updates from this fiscal year, since we are already in almost April of that, so you know sort of what we're up to this year. So I will go ahead and have Heidi Emberling kick it off with a very quick overview of our community report.
Hello. Perfect. I feel like I have already achieved because the slides are up on the screen. Very happy. And if anybody would like an extra report, we have them here and they're on our website as well. So I will be hitting some of the highlights of the report that you all received in your packet. And just wanted to share the overview. So in fiscal year 23-24, First 5 spent $25.2 million on programs and resources that supported 66,719 children and 155,811 parents and caregivers. And we allocated that to our 3 main focus areas, and that is family strengthening and support, about 172,236 families and children served. For in our child development area, 8,782 families and children served, and in our area of child health, 40,706 families and children served. In terms of our demographic profiles for children, we see about 46% of our children identify as Hispanic Latino, 24% Asian. Our primary home language, 34% Spanish, 41% English, and you can see the list of the different languages below that. And in terms of our demographics of our parents and caregivers, you'll see about 56% identify as Hispanic Latino, 31% Asian, home language, Spanish 52%, Vietnamese 23%, and English 19%. In terms of our family strengthening initiatives, the top concerns of families, and these are reported on the family intake forms, are around having enough money to pay the bills, around their ability to have enough food for their families, concerned about their housing, and concerned about access to health care. We are closing out, as Jennifer mentioned, our Family Resource Center initiative, and we have launched our Stronger Systems, Stronger Families initiative this year. Both of them do support place-based resource centers as avenues for which families can receive services and support. And you'll see all the data on this slide of everything related to those initiatives. In our child development area, we look at the impact of COVID on kindergarten readiness. Our kindergarten readiness scores were lower, and a lot of that is attributed to the impact of COVID on our children. In addition, there was a shortage of childcare spaces around the county, including our most important and hardest to find spaces, and that is for our infants and toddlers. So that data is also shared on this slide. And we really focused on strengthening the workforce so that we have a strong childcare range of options so that families can choose what works best for them. So we are looking at strengthening the workforce, not only in terms of recruitment, but also in retention in our field through some of the innovative strategies and programs that are listed here and that we're happy to answer more questions about in a moment. In terms of child health, about 44% of our families are concerned about their family's ability to access health care. So that is an important metric that we are following. In addition, And I know you all received our home visiting report recently at the Board of Supervisors meeting, but our home visiting collaborative engaged 14 programs across 8 different agencies and 88 home visitors, serving about 3,300 children through home visiting programs in our county. In terms of screenings, we're still working with partners to do physical health screenings, and we're also working with our family resource centers to do developmental screenings for children. Early intervention has been shown to really support kindergarten readiness and healthy development of children, and so that is a key focus for us. In terms of our advocacy and awareness, you probably are all familiar with Potter the Otter. Potter the Otter traveled around Northern California through a Children's Discovery Museum traveling exhibit in last year, and brought Potter and his healthy messages to children all over Northern California. In addition, we held our first ever annual Santa Clara County Family Child Care Leadership Conference at West Valley College, and this year we held our second one, and again, my colleague Trina Hudson can speak to that more. And then at the Children's Discovery Museum, the exploration portal that First Five supported opened this year, so it's very exciting as well.
So turning to a little bit about First Five's revenue challenges and successes, which this slide shows. Obviously, First Five receives money via Proposition 10, which is the tobacco tax initiative, and due to just the natural decline of smoking rates, combined with the flavor ban, which passed in 2022, you can see that our tax revenue from Prop 10 has significantly declined since 2020, and we anticipate that will continue to decline year on year, although hopefully not quite as steeply as we saw between 2021 and 2023. But on the good news side, you can see that we've also increased our grants and other operating income, including significant thanks to investments from the county in partnerships and initiatives that we've been working on together. Next slide. This shows you just overall where our community investment dollars went in last fiscal year. It shows you the breakdown of revenue, just in another visual to see what that looks like. And it also shows you where our dollars were spent in terms of those 3 primary service areas, as well as improved systems of care. Just a note, in our new strategic plan, which again, this data doesn't reflect yet, you will see increased investments in improved systems of care, as that is a larger focus of the entire First Five network.
Oh, great. So we did not highlight our new strategic plan, but we do have an FY 27 strategic plan, and we are currently prioritizing efforts to connect families and caregivers to services supports that really support the basic needs of young children. And the way we're doing that is that we launched a new strategic initiative called Stronger Systems, Stronger Families Initiative. We're funding 22 unique organizations to address specific areas of work, specifically around place-based resource centers, critical gaps being in the community to support families where they are, as well as really funding bold and innovative efforts that would create system change, really addressing the problems that are holding the issues in place for families. And so together, we are hoping that this initiative will seek to strengthen intervention, prevention, and upward stream efforts around system change efforts. And the only way we can achieve system change if we do collective impact work together. One of the ways we're doing that is that we launched a learning collaborative with 22 organizations. So we're bringing them together every quarter, and we're really learning and sharing with one another to really strengthen the system of care. We cannot do stuff in silos, so this is one effort, an area we're looking ahead to this upcoming year. I also want to mention we are recognizing this new initiative through a place-based approach, meaning place-based really allows us to really leverage the needs of a geographic area and really addressing those needs specifically. So previously, you might be aware of the Family Resource Center model. That was very prescriptive. We are now really broadening up our approach to ensure that we are inviting families, community engagement processes to play a role in addressing the problems that are holding in place in those communities. So that's really what's coming up right now. With that, I'll pass it to Trina.
Hello? Yes, it's on. Yes, so looking ahead for child development, which is what we're actually working on right now, we continue to support strengthening the workforce, which is a part of our strategic plan. Really our primary support is around family child care home providers. And like previously mentioned, we've had 2 successful family child care leadership conferences. We're in the process of planning our 3rd one. We've also had successful advocacy events. We are planning our 3rd one as well. And we have recently just launched our Shared Services Alliance, which is really around supporting small business supports for family child care providers while also supporting quality early learning and care. We also have been moving ahead with our innovative apprenticeship program. We have successfully graduated 83 apprentices from our associate teacher apprenticeship program, and we just recently launched our teacher apprenticeship program, and we have 31 currently enrolled. And so we're super excited to continue to feed the pipeline of early child care providers in the county. We are also continuing to support in other ways through our Quality Matters initiative, and we also recently launched our TK Equity initiative, which is around getting early learning providers that were traditionally supporting the pre-K age group, getting them qualified and credentialed to continue to serve those age groups in the public school system.
And then I won't cover this slide in detail since we presented in depth at one of the previous Board of Supervisors meetings, but obviously a big accomplishment this year has been completing the home visiting study as well as continuing to explore conversations with our managed care plans and hopefully soon with county administration to look at some of those recommendations to broaden our reach in terms of home visiting as a strategy to really improve outcomes for children in really all domains: safety, health, child development. Also this year, First Five took an innovative approach to addressing basic needs by exploring partnerships with Destination Home and other partners to explore investing in basic income programs. So we invested in the Destination Home program focused on families experiencing homelessness or at risk of homelessness, and we invested $500,000 in that program, which is up and running. And then we are currently in development also with Destination Home in launching a baby bonds pilot. So the idea behind this pilot is that families with children that are born into homelessness would be eligible for a baby bond that would continue to grow and invest over time and really create a wealth building strategy for that child and that family so that they would have money that actually becomes more of an asset and can be used on something that really makes sure the family could be sustainable for more than just one generation. So we are still developing that program. The commission has approved the investment and we're developing the logistics and what that looks like in partnership. The other thing I want to mention that we do not have a slide for because it is hot off the press and the commission approved it last week, we have just approved an allocation of $1 million to support families and our priority populations in response to the changing landscape of federal policy and federal administration. Our priority populations include populations that are families with mixed documentation or no documentation, as well as families that are at risk of homelessness and other populations that we are already seeing be heavily impacted by what's happening at the federal level. That $1 million will likely be invested in a mix of supporting family preparedness efforts, creating emergency funds for families who may need immediate funds for basic needs in the chance that a family member is detained, and also looking at supports for our providers that are on the front lines responding, either through our rapid response network or other crisis providers that are working directly with families on the front line. So we'll have a lot more detail about that as we develop that program, but that was just approved last Thursday by our commission. We look forward to collaborating with the county. We know you all have also approved dollars to support families, and we want to make sure that our work is aligned and not duplicative, but also addresses any gaps that you all see as well. And with that, I think we are open to your questions.
Perfect. Thank you so much for the presentation. I'm going to ask for public comment.
Okay, we do have one request to speak.
Wonderful. We'll give them 3 minutes.
Okay. So our speaker is Paul Soto. Paul Soto, you will have 2 minutes to speak. The timer will begin when you begin speaking.
Thank you, Paul Soto from the Horseshoe. Thank you for the report. Um, I've been doing, this is my 10th year of advocacy in the County of Santa Clara and the City of San Jose. And what I've noticed over that amount of time is the deceptive presentation of data. You see, in order for your data, any of this data that you presented to be significant, to be able to actually measure what it is that you're doing, you would have to have a baseline of how many people are eligible or need this particular type of service. And then you use that and you measure it against what it is that you're doing here. That way, me as a citizen, a person in the public that does advocacy work, we know exactly and precisely what it is that you're doing and what kind of dent you're making in these areas that are being resourced. So honestly, this doesn't say anything because I don't know what the need is. All I'm hearing is, well, we've helped this many families, and we're helping this people and that people, and these are the amount of people that were, okay, that's fine, excellent, good. But that's what you're supposed to be doing. What I want to know is very specifically, how many people are actually in need of these type of services, and how many people, based on that number, are you actually servicing year over year? Then that gives me an indication of what kind of success you're bringing to me because this is my money, this is public money. This is what you're using in order to finance this. Okay, cool. Well, it's kind of irresponsible to kind of put these numbers out there and you're not really indicating to us just what the need actually is.
Thank you, and that concludes public comment.
Thank you. Look to my co-chair for questions or comments.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you so much for the presentation, and also I want to thank you for the briefings that your team has provided to me and my office as we get up to speed on all the great work that First Five has been doing. I'm hoping that you can help me understand more, just walk me through the final year of the Family Resource Center initiative and how that dovetails or merges or supports the launch of the Stronger Systems, Stronger Families initiative. I know that some of the FRCs are closing down. Does that mean that other centers or other place-based initiatives are being set up? And just helping me understand the transition or the growth, or what is that relationship like?
Sure.
Happy to take it. Yes, and I would like to say that the Family Resource Center initiative actually concluded last June 30th. And we worked really diligently with our staff to ensure that we support every grantee and every community that will transition out. I also got support. I want to thank some support I got from the Board of Supervisors last year as well. There were some sites that were posed to close, and because of this, the Board of Supervisors support, we were able to keep some open with additional funding they actually provided through their office. But at this point, those transitions have occurred, and we try to minimize as much as possible. At that time, we had about 26 centers. We are now down to 19. It would have been a lot more greater if we didn't get support from the Board of Supervisors. I also know there's a place-based resource center contract with SSA, which we're very thankful for. That's allowed us to actually sustain a few more that we anticipated. But we definitely have supported transitioning. We ensure that those grantees and those providers, if they decide to close, we want to ensure that the families weren't impacted. So we actually identified families, a nearest site, whether it be a First Five funded site or another site that was funded through either a county agency or health plan agency. So we want to make sure that the families aren't, when we think about continuity of care, that was minimized as much as possible. Families did not felt the impact of that closure.
And if I can also add, actually, the Family Resource Center initiative had been in its 7th or 8th year without doing another competitive bidding process. We were able to extend that time in part because of COVID, in part because of our own transitions within First Five. But for equity reasons, we did need to do another process for agencies to put in proposals. Inherently, through that process, some new agencies became new partners with us, and a few of the agencies were not ultimately selected. And then those agencies determined whether or not they had the ability to continue to support the Family Resource Center they may have been operating. So there were some that closed. There were some that stayed open, but with new operators. So there was different shifts depending on which neighborhood and which region. And some of that was also just the decreased amount available for investment moving forward.
And then, bear with me, you'll have to help me out here. So then with the 22 orgs that's being supported through the place, the new Stronger Systems, Stronger Families initiatives, does that result in new spaces, like similar to FRCs?
Yes, very much so. Yes, they have results in new spaces. We have actually identified new partners. Earlier, I shared that the FRC, the Family Resource Center model, was a model that I would say First Five proudly put together. Thank you for that. I'm really pretty loud. I think First Five is very proud about the FRC model. I would say, I actually supported one of the first FRC openings back in 2010, but it was very prescriptive. Actually, we heard a lot from communities that they wanted something different. They really wanted to ensure that the programs that were offered really felt responsive to them and their culture. And so we have shifted. So from the 22 organizations I named, there's actually 10 specific organizations within them that are operating 19 sites. We invited, because of the RFP process, through the robust RFP process, we actually identified new sites that we wouldn't have imagined to be a site, including Bill Wilson Center, for example. They're a new partner with us. It's really exciting. We also have some mobile sites. We know that physical spaces are really hard to come by, so some mobile sites. But again, when we think about a place-based research center, we're really looking at ways to really bring in the community from a specific geographic region to really come together for learning development, for problem solving, to really implement that in collaboration with community. And the Stronger Systems, Stronger Families is really centering families in all things aspect to program development, implementation, and evaluation. So that's very different here. It's very different. We have created a collective impact approach, meaning there are some core elements. We call them core elements. There are certain things that we all want to accomplish together, but then the way in which you do that is up to each site and each community, because we want to ensure that community members decide on what that looks like. So whether it be events, whether it be programming, whether it be family evidence-based program approaches, it's all through the families that they are trying to serve. And we hope through this, we're going to have more social impact in the next 3 years.
Yeah, I don't doubt that at all. Thank you so much for this presentation and the thoughtful development of these initiatives. I do have a specific question about one of the sites, and this has come through my office from our neighbors and our residents. That the Dahl FRC was one of the sites that were closed. And so, after hearing a lot of feedback from our community members and our neighbors there, I had my team kind of do like a census tract analysis there.
Right.
And just, it's located in East Hills, or on East Hills, or used to be. And that's the average home has up to 15 people living in it, in this area. It's multi-generational, families living under one roof, single-family homes that were not designed in the first place for that. So this is a densely populated, high-impact, high-need area. And I know I'm putting you on the spot, so if there is a plan for the Dahl area, which is lacking in this, without the Family Resource Center there, it's lacking now in this type of services.
Should I take that?
I mean, what I can say is, in terms of which sites remained open and which didn't through that RFP process, it was through that RFP process that those decisions were made. So, a very similar process that the county would utilize, and agencies had the opportunity to decide, which sites to propose. We also tried our very best to do a global approach and not just say, we funded 20 sites that are all in one zip code and left big gaps in other areas. So we tried to balance the geographic need as well as with what we received in terms of proposals. Obviously, that effort is not always perfect, and there are some sites that did end up closing. We do not currently have a plan to open a new site there without any dedicated additional funding identified for that. We're certainly open to talking and partnering with, other funders who might want to, come together to put a site together. We were actually able to successfully do that last year by blending funding that we had available to support the diaper kit program, which also funds some staff, in alignment with school districts offering space and in combining with Board of Supervisors inventory funds.
Yes.
So we have had a successful model of doing that last year, and it's certainly something we would be open to considering and talking about. We just know First Five on its own would not have, at this point, sufficient additional funding to commit to a 3-year family resource center there without additional funds.
Yeah, thank you for that context. You know, I always say that at this county, good work gets rewarded with more work. So I'm gonna I'm gonna ask offline if we can have some more conversations just about how we can, without opening up another FRC, or if there's other opportunities to invest in something there in the Doll area, or how to even triangulate resources, right? Like maybe without the play space, but there's nearby at, like, for example, at the Laren College Prep, right? Or other partners in the area that we can help refer folks to. I just wouldn't want to leave folks hanging. Not that anybody did that. I know that this was a very thoughtful transition plan, so I look forward to connecting offline just to see if there's like an approach that we could take for the Doll area.
Yep,
Thank you.
absolutely. Happy to talk more about that. And again, you know, acknowledging that in that process, there were definitely some losses, some gains and some losses, but that is accurate.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Chair. That's it for my questions.
Of course, I know that it's always a loss to our community when something that they counted on isn't there anymore. And I had in our Welch community, we experienced some of that because the school district partially funded that FRC, and so I know that there's shifts because funding sources are sometimes changing, but the work that is established through FRC is so ingrained in how people tap into services and how they connect with folks that I understand the loss of a FRC isn't just the site. It's so much more. It's this reliability for the community. I have a couple of questions. By the way, I just want to say just fabulous work on your presentation and on your strategic plan handout, the community report. It is absolutely beautiful. I don't expect anything less from First Five. As you all know, I've worked there for many, many years. And during my tenure there, I remember Potter the Otter being established in the first rendition of the book.
Yes.
And so Potter has been doing all kinds of stuff since his first, drink more water.
Yes, he's a very
campaign.
active otter.
Oh, he sure is.
He's
sure
currently
is.
writing a book right now on farm to early childhood in partnership with California Department of Public Health, which we didn't include in our proposal. So stay tuned, yes.
I love it. I would love it if you had some South County farm references. That would be wonderful. You know, we have the last of the farming
Yes.
and agricultural land out there. So we could see ourselves there as well. And then looking at this, so first of all, I just really love how you are strategizing on family strengthening, the child development, the child health. It all makes sense because you want to make sure you have these focus areas. I know that First Five wants to be everything to everyone, and you know, when I first started there was just the beginning of developing the system of care for our children, being actually those gate holders, not gatekeepers, but gate holders of issues that anything that relate to children 0 through 6, and you've become, to me, we've become, and you are now leading that. I think a model that we should replicate for the rest of the school age and then high school and young adults, because we have so much programming in this county that is not coordinated in the same way that you are holding and coordinating and strategizing for children 0 through 6. And when there isn't somebody at the helm, there's nobody. There's everyone, right? But then there's nobody really, right, holding the work. And that's probably, and that's kind of the genesis of why I had begun that child and youth master plan back at the city of San Jose as a council member, is so that we can take a look at the system of care and then get to a model of having Medi-Cal reimbursed activities for sustainability, which is something really amazing that was done at the early years with Nancy Peña when she was still a director for behavioral health. But now that I've walked down memory lane and also taken us into this new direction, and you've taken us into this new direction, I really appreciated hearing about the improved systems of care the strong, is it stronger or strongest systems and stronger families?
Stronger.
Stronger.
Stronger systems.
yeah.
Stronger system will result in stronger families.
Yeah, we
Mike
can
just
make a
says it so
T-shirt out of
fast, you
it.
can't
We
tell.
can put it on hats. We can all, I'll remember soon enough. As soon as I remember the name of this committee, it is always hard to say this CSFC committee. I got it right there. I got it. It only took me 2 years. All right, so the reason I was taking us down this memory lane is because where we are now, I think, is very well executed in terms of focus, and I just want to congratulate you for that. I also want to ask you how I know that you did a lot of surveys, you do a lot of research, and your research is very well respected in the way that you go about it. And I was really surprised to see on the child maltreatment, this is under the child health, that this is the rate of substantiated child maltreatment per 1,000 children. And I'm wondering that this is statewide. And I wonder if there's any opportunity to actually reflect it countywide, because I think that the rest of the numbers are specific to our county. Or is this statewide?
This is,
Oh, go ahead.
Nathan has a response. I'm going to hand this over to
Ooh,
our
the experts.
Director
I love
of
it.
Research and Evaluation, Nathan
Oh.
Lingott-Thomas.
Hi,
Nathan Lingott, Thomas, Director of Research and Evaluation. Yeah, this is our county.
This is our county.
You see lower, the rate is 9.8. That's the state rate.
Okay. Thank you. So I'm going to ask you to do something, and because this graph doesn't matter so much as what the reality of what our children are going through is most important to me. But you all go by data, right? To define the direction, to define the areas of focus, and this child maltreatment, I'm going to contest a little bit. Because we are going through a child welfare reform, and as you might know, there was, I think, a framework of trying to undo some of the practices of the past, and that means so some of what was happening before was the rapid removal of children of color from their homes, and so in order to repair and address that, there was more of a tendency to leave children in the care of caregivers. But as we saw, the state identify for us, and in their when they pulled out some data, they saw that 52% of the children that were deemed to be safe within their home were not, and they did not have safety plans, and so the practices that we had for our children might not reflect this rate of maltreatment. And so when it doesn't reflect the rate of maltreatment, and we go by data and not what we see then after in terms of symptoms of abuse eventually are very telling, because children follow certain tracks. Sexual assault and then non-sexual assault abuse have different tracks, then we're not addressing it strategically, and there isn't an attempt to actually maybe rectify some of the abuse that wasn't being reported during the pandemic because we weren't available, because systems weren't available, and also because children didn't have access to maybe a safe adult. And so I really like for you to maybe follow up with me on recognizing this bit of information so that we can recognize the needs of the children in response to what was happening during the pandemic and post-pandemic, and of course within the framework of our Department of Family and Children's Services.
Yes, happy to do that. I mean, as you know, prior to coming to First Five, I represented children in the child welfare system for 20 years. So very familiar with how pendulums have swung and obviously a very supported focus on prevention. In terms of the data, I do want to say, I think this This report is sort of the last year of our, what ended up being a 7-year strategic plan that identified particular community indicators. That substantiation rate was one of them. And I understand the rate in and of itself doesn't tell a complete story. First Five is very involved with our AB 2083, our Systems of Care group. I'm actually co-chairing the leadership team with Sarah Duffy, and Mike is co-chairing the advisory group. So that is something that we do believe is an important aspect for First Five to be a part of. We don't see that system as a totally different system. Those are all the same children that we are looking at. So I definitely think we can commit to being involved and engaged in how to support those children and families better and making sure that we put their safety first.
Thank you. Offline, I will ask you what those responsive strategies will look like. I want to make sure that I offer you an opportunity to also partner along with us, because as you know, that we have a lot of really wonderful work, not only in our DFCS department, but we also are in the midst of establishing a violence prevention initiative office, we hope, or a department. We'll see what that all looks like in the future. But I think it's important for us to hold the same data, to recognize what is happening in our community, and to be strategic in our responses, right? And you all, as leaders in research for children 0 through 6, we expect to kind of follow you, if you will, right? And so, and the best practices, and obviously you've integrated those in the way that you're responding to our community. I see that very clearly. I just want to make sure that that isn't lost somewhere. I know that you continue to ask families what it is that they want, and you know, I saw that those percentages in terms of access to health care, even though we think that we're doing a really great job of connecting families, even regardless of documentation, to Medi-Cal enrollment, there's still an access issue. And I think we know that statewide it isn't anything new, but it is something that is very apparent. And part of the question for us as policymakers is, what do we do about it, right? And so you bring something to us. What are we doing either locally or at a statewide level to lobby for changes in terms of access to quality health care? I do have to tout, we have a wonderful healthcare system here, and I think it's due to lots of folks who are sitting up here on the dais. And as much as, you know, we're a system made by human beings, and we do wonderful work, and in an attempt to do that wonderful work, sometimes inadvertently we do something else, but we do lots of wonderful, wonderful things, and our health and hospital system definitely is part of that. And of course, our chief operating officer is sitting to the left of me that I've got to give a little shout out to. All right, so I'm going to move on. I'll ask you to check in with me offline,
follow
and
up.
we'll talk more about this. And then hopefully I can have a second on this one. Oh, no, I won't make a motion as a chair.
I can make a second.
Okay.
There's
thank
no
you.
rules against that, right?
Point of privilege, I guess. Go ahead.
Vice Chairperson Young
Yes.
and Chairperson Arenas.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Thank you so much for the presentation. We're going to
Thank
move
you.
on to item 5. This is receiving a report from Social Services Agency relating to contract and procurement operations. And this comes from a referral from October 24th, 2024, and by yours truly. You're welcome. And welcome.
Good afternoon, George Montes with the Office of Contracts Management with the Social Services Agency, here to respond to questions on item 5 of the contract report.
Wonderful. And, you know, I think would you like a bit of a presentation overview?
I'm sure.
Yeah? Okay. We do have a new vice chair, and so I think it would be wonderful if you can give maybe a really general overview for us, please.
Absolutely, happy to do so. So this report is a request, a response to the report we presented on October 2024, addressing a few requests from Supervisor Arenas and the CSFC committee. The report is comprised of 4 domains, including a background section that identifies the report topics that we reported in the October 24 session. Additional details requested by you, Supervisor Arenas, outlining the elements of data that comprise the October 2024 report, included with data definitions, also with an attachment of the actual data that made up the report summary. It also includes a subcategory of assessments of intergovernmental agreements, comparing a baseline from 2018 to FY 2025, explaining why there was a significant increase in a few intergovernmental agreements. Two areas were highlighted. One highlight was from the probation department that increased from a baseline of, I don't have the baseline here in front of me, but it was increased by about approximately $7 million from 2018 to 2025. And the increases was largely through the increases of RAP reinvestment funds that were being utilized to promote services to prevent kids from going into juvenile justice systems or the child welfare system. The other category that had significant increases was the technology department that incorporated a $47 million increase, and that was due to an agreement that wasn't submitted to us to record in 2018 that we captured in 2024, and that's why that significant increase was represented in the 2024 report. The third category of the report is the assessment of contracts, including the existing policies and procedures, decisions the SSA takes that we used for internal controls, monitoring, and accountability. The contract accountability practices for the vendors that we include in the contracts, including performance metrics that capture demographic served, budget utilization, outputs, and outcomes. Practices outlining utilization review that usually take place at quarterly intervals through the invoice practices, and updates on the Harvey Rose audit that we recently had, outlining 2 corrective actions that were recommended through that report, and identifying that those corrective actions have been applied as of March 2024. That is my summary.
Oh, should I get the gavel? No, I'm kidding. Thank you so much, George. I just want to appreciate, and then I know that the sound is being projected in the back hallway too, in the back room, so if my chairperson, Sylvia Arenas, can hear, I wanted to thank her for requesting this report back. As a new supervisor and new member to this committee, newish, I just really appreciate the context that it provided and really helping me understand more of your world. The 2 attachments to the report were really easy to reference, and not on paper though. I mean, that's like itty-bitty font. So before anyone thinks I have superhuman vision, but it was really easy to reference, like, of course, looking online and on the computer screen, and it really provided really great context. So I found this to be really great context. I found it to be really helpful and just really better understanding of the complex world of SSA contracting. So Supervisor, I wanted to thank you for requesting this back. I thought it was great utility for myself, and I also think for the public to see this information in a public setting, and for the discussion and the presentation that you just provided in terms of like how complex, but then also appreciate like how much thought goes into and how much investment is made at the county level into these important services. So thank you so much for that presentation and for this report. I could see it being used as almost like a reference item in my office, because I feel like it creates, again, the great context and being able to just kind of, I mean, you might regret this later, George, like just being able to pull an item out and say, hey, tell me more about this, because you really gave us enough information to kind of follow a lead here. We wanted to explore specific programs and contracts in the county. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor.
I'm going to ditto that sentiment because it was very, very useful. And before we continue to have the conversation, I'll ask for public comment.
Okay. We do have one request to speak online.
Wonderful, and we'll keep it at 2.
Okay. All right. So our speaker is Paul Soto. You will have 2 minutes to speak. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Paul Soto from the Horseshoe. I wanted to draw attention to the $7 million that has been spent on probation. You can see the market significant reduction in kids doing time in juvenile hall. And for myself, spending the from 12 to 18 inside juvenile hall when there was at least on any given day, at least 300 kids. No exaggeration, 300 kids inside that juvenile hall. And then you had the proliferation of Chad, you had the proliferation of the CYA system, and then of course, you graduate, with honors and you go on to San Quentin. And so there was this very clear trajectory and nobody was doing anything to interfere with that. And so these numbers actually translate into life experiences that don't happen. They're necessary. They're put it this way, my generation and what we experience inside juvenile halls and inside these institutions is a dying breed, thankfully. And that is because of this money that is being spent. It is money well spent. Because if this money wasn't spent on this level, then necessarily the trajectory of these kids, the school to prison pipeline would be increased. And you would have more kids going into the prison systems and having those kinds of experiences. And that just leads to, now it's like $110,000, $120,000 per year for one inmate per year inside CDC. So this is one particular area that I'd like to continue to encourage and congratulate and thank the county for specifically allocating these fundings in this particular area, because it shows a market significant difference, because I think now there's only 10 kids, 10 max inside juvenile halls.
Okay, thank you. And that concludes public comment.
Good Lord. Thank you. And I'm going to go to my vice chair first. Questions or comments?
No questions, just thank you. Great context, very easy to understand. Probably will use this as a reference item in my office. And thank you again, Chair, for bringing this item forward.
Of course.
And the public discussion was very positive, so I think the value of sunshining our work here is great.
Yeah, part of, I think, what was really wonderful to see was a lot of the contracts had almost 100% utilization, right? And I thought that was just wonderful, because that's what we want to see, right? We want to see contracts that are being used and contracts that actually, and this is to the public speaker's comment, is that when we invest in our children to redirect the pipeline elsewhere, we keep them out of our institutions that we don't want them to graduate from, and that's our justice involved systems. So I really appreciate it. And one of the things that I was looking at, and thank you for making that note about the $7 million expansion and coordinated efforts. I know that has a lot to do with probation, and I think it was SSA and probation. And so one of those questions I'll make because I'm going to use my point of privilege again and make a motion because I have more questions. This is such a great presentation and great report. Not to a 51-year-old, those fonts were challenging. I was like, baby Jesus. But the good thing is that we can expand those online. I'm a paper person, Vice Chair, as you can see.
Yeah, we both held our binders in the morning of a board meeting. So, yeah. But no complaints. Just yes, online was really easy to zoom in and see, but the data was organized extremely well. Thank you.
Yeah. And so one of the things that I'm hoping to gather, and it really is to help inform us And kind of in the same vein that I was making the comments earlier to First Five agency is to make sure that we are strategic and aligning what we see and what we're seeing in our systems and what we're seeing as leaders in our own respective communities and what they need, and being responsive to that. This is in the same vein. I'm going to ask for some additional information so that we can see those folks who have some contracts with low utilization rates are just as concerning, right, as those. I mean, granted, there are not as many, but there are some that have lower utilization rates, and trying to figure out what are those root causes, right? Why are those programs having a low use rate if we know the need is so great? I mean, it doesn't have only to do with children 0 through 6, but obviously when you have a 6-year-old, you have an 8-year-old or a 10-year-old, research shows, right? And so if the folks who are providing services for our 6-year-olds are saying, we've got a lot of work here and there's not enough money, and yet we're seeing some lower utilization rates within our own system, it begs the question, why, right? And so let's figure those pieces out. And so part of I'm going to just get to the point here of my motion. I'm going to ask to direct the administration to report to this committee on the DFCS contracts with low utilization rates, and consideration of the root causes for each of the programs' low use rate. I also want us to explore the intergovernment agreements, and I know they were a little more defined because they were not clear, I think, the last time that I asked about this, and this is becoming clear. But I am going to ask to revise and direct the administration to explore options to revise how the intergovernment agreements are documented in the contract data tables so that we can see more transparency on the purpose of spending, as well as better documenting when a county department is the vendor, right? Because typically we're not the vendors. I'm also going to ask to direct the administration to report to this committee a comprehensive report on expanding collaboration between SSA and probation. And there's something in the report that says it's to prevent children and youth from entering the juvenile justice system and to provide other preventative services to families at risk for accessing the child welfare or juvenile justice system. And I am all for that. I just want to understand how this is being done, because part of what I have been asking in the last year is for dually involved youth. And Vice Chair, there's plenty of dually involved youth. That means youth that have been in or are actively in our child welfare system and then become active in our probation system, right? And we don't want that kind of duality. And so I'm really interested in seeing the dually involved youth programs expand. I think last year, I want to say they were maybe under 20. And they're very successful in terms of their strategy. And so anyways, I want to know more about that. So that's direct the administration to report to CFC a comprehensive report on expanding collaborations between the SSA and probation. And then there's more. There's also directing the administration to report to this committee with a report that reviews SSA contracts that originate as board referrals. And I think this is something that you might find also very helpful, Vice Chair. This is so that we can look at the board referrals that we've done with the history of those referrals, the scope of the current contract and the changes over time, and the metrics that are used to measure success. And that's to figure out, are our referrals effective, right? When they are converted into contracts, just simply because we have a great idea, or simply because we said, well, there's best practice somewhere else and let's adopt that. but we have to have a way to figure out whether those referrals are actually effective, right? So that's part of, I've got two more, bear with me. I'm also going to ask our administration to report to this committee with a report on contracts related to food, inclusive of senior nutrition, other meals, culturally specific meals, and the role of SSA meal contracts in our food system and our systems of care. Lastly, I'm going to ask the administration to report to this committee regarding gender-based violence funding, our contracts on gender-based violence, and information on the larger picture of funding for those programs in our county. I want to see how we are strategizing and aligning what we know is happening in and around our county, especially when we've realized, and I know I've said this from the dais a number of times, that from the sexually assaulted kiddos who were in South County, and I roughly want to say it was around 200, and I think I'm being very conservative in that number because I can't remember, but I think it was closer to 300. 13 of those actually access services in our Children's Advocacy Center in San Jose. That's from South County, and that's why we're having a children's, or at least I'm hoping, and that it's going to be in the pipeline real soon, a reality, our Children's Advocacy Center in Morgan Hill, because we want to follow the need, right? And I want to know in terms of our gender-based violence funding, I think that has that is really important for us to receive, and all of this data cleanup and strategy alignment that I'm talking about, I'd like to see this this report come back in 6 months. So to this committee, because otherwise we're going to wait another whole year, Vice Chair, in order to receive this information, and I don't think we have that time to really spare. And that is my motion.
Supervisor, may I please ask just a quick clarifying question? I think I understand for the couple of different items you listed, the crux of the information you're requesting, and one thing I'll just observe is I think we have some upcoming reports that touch on some of those topics, maybe not coming to CSFC, but coming to the full board, where we might be able to include in the response that's already planned some of the information that you've requested and address the request you're making today in those reports, getting you the information you're requesting sooner. So just would appreciate if it's acceptable to you to give administration the flexibility to actually come back sooner if we can do it in another forum where we're already going to be presenting related information. So long as it's okay that it might not come back to CSFC specifically.
I hear you. If you could offline tell me what those would be, and I think I, of course, would love to be flexible and have all of our colleagues hear the information at the same time. That's wonderful. But we serve as a committee to first vet a lot of this information, and so as much as we can keep it in our committee. But absolutely, if there's anything sooner, and I know that there's some other reports that we have asked for that are going to come to the greater group. Absolutely.
Okay, great. So we'll take a look at the list of requests that you've made and strategize on the best way to bring the information back, and then we'll touch base with your office offline on that.
Perfect. And waiting for that second.
Happy to second with the flexibility to bring certain reports back sooner and maybe to other bodies besides CSFC. Thank you, Chair.
Wonderful. And I think that those bodies either would be this body or the board, so that we can all hear it. Perfect. Go ahead.
Okay. Vice Chairperson Young
Yes.
and Chairperson Arenas.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Awesome. Okay. We only have 5 more items to go through. All right, so we're going to move into item 6. This is receive report from the Department of Family and Children Services relating, and thank you so much for the presentation. I apologize, we didn't wrap up nicely there. Item 6 is receiving the report from the Department of Family and Children Services relating to the Child Welfare Corrective Action Plan and related reform efforts. welcome.
Thank you, Chair Innes and Vice Chair Young. Sarah Duffy, Deputy Director, Social Services Agency. Typically, our acting Child Welfare Director, Wendy Kinnear-Rausch, would be presenting, but she is off this week on a long-planned vacation, so hopefully she's having fun. And I'm joined here today by our Assistant Director of DFCS, Javier Guerrero, and our acting second Assistant Director of DFCS, Melissa Suarez. I believe also online we have Naveen Sangwan, who is our manager overseeing our System Improvement Bureau, and Naveen is doing a lot of the work on the CQI components of the corrective action plan. So I will walk through this presentation if you'd like me to, or I can take questions, whatever your preferences are.
I'm going to look to my vice chair. Would you like a little bit of a presentation?
I would, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, sounds good. All right, let's get started. So this is our monthly update on the corrective action plan, and we're bringing back the work that we've done over the past month. So this is really covering the work that was completed in February 2025. So at each CFC, we talk about the work that happened in the prior month to address the components of the corrective action plan. And as a reminder, we're organizing our updates into the three buckets that we feel really are most critical in safeguarding children, and that is in the corrective action plan. So safeguarding children, workforce development, and key partnerships. So on this first slide, you'll see the work that happened in February around the area of safety. And we focused on the final development of the safety planning review tool, and we attached the final draft to the report. And this is the tool that we'll use to review safety plans, addressing all the key elements. The next step in development is putting it online with TSS, and we're starting in March to do our continuous quality improvement development, and we're finalizing the methodology for the randomized review of cases. I also want to just point out that while we're refining and finalizing in partnership with the California Department of Social Services, the really thorough qualitative CQI process, DFCS supervisors and managers are actively monitoring safety plans that are being completed and making sure that they are all uploaded for referrals and cases. So there's ongoing, very close attention to safety planning as we finalize the deeper dive CQI. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so this slide shows a snapshot of the trainings that have been going on, and this is a tracker we've developed. It's much more comprehensive than what you see here, but here's a summary of the trainings and coaching that has happened to date, and you'll find more details on the specifics of the completed trainings in the actual corrective action plan itself. But as you can see, there's a number of different training sessions that are associated with the corrective action plan, and we're actively tracking the managers, supervisors, and social workers that are completing the trainings. We've also been working with the Office of Research and Evaluation to develop a survey to collect ongoing feedback from training participants as well as coaching participants, and we've attached that to the file as well. So you can see what we're looking at regularly to refine and improve our training efforts. Next slide, please. And then finally, I just went over this, so we can skip past this slide. Okay, and finally, in the areas of key partnerships, during the month of February, DFCS partnered with several key organizations on critical programs, including behavioral health, court partners, the Child Abuse and Prevention Council, Juvenile Justice Coordinating Council, Children's Advocacy Center, Valley Medical Center, and other medical partners. We also had a really valuable technical assistance session with the California Department of Social Services, where we did a deep dive into our child fatality reporting and the associated policies and procedures, and that's a focus of one of the corrective action plan priority areas. So this is just a little snapshot of all the partnership work that's happening that is really contributing to the corrective action plan work. So I will stop there, and I'm happy to respond to questions And my colleagues can also provide more details if I don't have all the information needed.
Perfect. And before we actually do that, we're going to check with our public.
We do have 2 requests to speak online.
Okay, we can do the 2 minutes.
Okay. Our first speaker is iPhone. iPhone, you will have 2 minutes to speak. Please go ahead.
Yes, I mean, I don't know, I don't think that these corrective action plans have had any impact on protecting children. I mean, like, how many times have I come to you guys and I've told you that my son is confirmed being raped beginning at the age of 13, that there had been unnecessary bathing with the children, that there had been sexual contact between 2 of the children. I mean, like, all these things together, I mean, how can you not do a screening? And I mean, that's because a retired judge and Valerie Houghton want the sexual abuse to continue. And let me tell you how this impacts. I mean, not just my kids who are still being abused. By not addressing this situation properly, you leave a pedophile to continue to volunteer at several schools in our county. But Sarah Duffy, I don't think she cares. I mean, like, if she cared, my kids would have a screening already. But she, Wendy Kinnear-Roush, Daniel Little, they don't care. They'll let the pedophiles continue to volunteer in schools. They'll let them do whatever they want as long as they got the right political connections. And I mean, it's just such a shame that we're allowing this to happen in our county, and all we get are these presentations, and that's instead of doing the actual work of protecting the kids. And then we say, oh, they're doing a great job. You're doing great. More pedophiles in the schools. Come on, we're doing great. I mean, this really needs to change. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Paul Soto. Paul, we are unmuting you. Please go ahead.
Yes, Paul Soto from the Horseshoe. I think, thank you for adopting these corrective measures to try to ensure the safety of children. I see the events surrounding baby Phoenix's death as the catalyst for this corrective measures. But what I found interesting about what happened with her specifically is that it was the county itself, the county executive's office, the county council's office, that necessarily gave the legal standing for baby Phoenix to stay with the father. And so I think we kind of like have these knee-jerk kind of responses when something happens. We need more training, we need more training, we need more training. When I think in this particular instance, and I probably, from the amount of social workers that showed up at that meeting, they're stating that they're hampered, that their ability to protect the children is being necessarily hampered by the county council's office, and decisions that are made to overrule them, and that the politics within the social services department is hampering their ability to effectively protect children. Not necessarily the need for more and more corrective measures, you know. And so I think we need to trust, you know, the social worker that has the degree, that has the experience in the field, and that has the knowledge, and sometimes has the instinct, just the instinct to know that something is wrong and something needs to be done about it, rather than going and ignoring that we have that wealth of experience inside the office.
Thank you, and that concludes public comment.
Thank you. I'm going to look to my co-chair.
Thank you for this monthly status update. I was encouraged to see the number of updates from February that was moving the action item to CDSS or final approval to get to completed status. So every month, it's always a eye-opening experience. I mean, to learn more about our our system here. And so I really appreciate the work that goes into this. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to start with, of course, as well, with gratitude for diving into this as much as we have asked. I know that's a lot of work, right? I know on a monthly basis it is a lot of work. I want to thank you for it. I think also our stakeholders are grateful because they can see it kind of broken down, right? They can see the steps leading up to something, and I think it's really useful just to breed more transparency and involvement, right? Because sometimes we can't see the forest, right? All right, so I'm going to start with the safety planning quality improvement tool, and I know this is kind of getting into the weeds a bit, but I did get some feedback. Some of it is my own feedback that I'm going to ask for, and I can distinguish between the two, and then some of it is from our folks who are stakeholders who are happy to give me some feedback when I ask. Okay, so the safety planning quality improvement tool is something that the supervisor, social worker supervisor, is supposed to utilize in a way to evaluate how well that safety plan has been developed, right? And so, one of the things that I was taking a look at is, and this is coming from the social workers, not me. One of the areas that they wanted to figure out is where on the tool does it show the progress or lack of progress that for all of the safety threat areas that have been identified, right? So if there were, there's 9 that you can choose from, and then a space for a 10th one that you can identify other. And so there isn't anything really on the safety plan that actually asks how are those safety threats being identified? Is the response mitigating for that safety threat that was identified, right? I mean, there's a lot of questions in terms of and I think really good questions, like the plan includes at least one member from the safety and support network. And although I think it is repetitive, there's also another question that says the plan includes signature of at least one person from the support network. And so I guess it's asking for the signature of it, of that person. And my question was, well, why just one? Because if there's only one person looking, or and I'm guessing from this safety and support network is within that living arrangement or the child's life, and if that one person goes away, who else remains? Or if those are the stakeholders that are involved in those CFT or any of those other meetings that take place.
So in terms of the safety plan, hello, sorry.
You surprised me.
In terms of the safety plan, we're requiring at least one, but there could be more. We hope for more, but we require at least one.
One person from the network, or one safety threat?
One natural support person.
Natural support person, okay. I just think, I don't know what the best practice is, but I ask you, what is that best practice? To have one person, 2 people? How many people should be looking at our children being in that network?
Well, we really prefer more. Some people don't have any. So we require at least one. But we are always actively looking to increase people's circle of support. So as more people come on, they can be part of the safety network as well.
I get you. And so could you also answer how are they going to track the progress or show the progress or lack thereof the progress identified to each of the threats?
So the safety plan is a temporary plan, right? It's really
For the first 30 days.
to put
Right.
something in place, or less, to put something in place so we can either continue to investigate or figure out how to increase the safety. So in terms of tracking, that's more of a case plan, overall assessment. So the tool isn't meant to track progress. It's really, is there an immediate safety threat right now? And how are we going to mitigate it, at least temporarily, to keep kids safe while we are creating a more permanent situation?
No, I understand that concept, and thank you for reviewing that. But we have 30 days, right, to answer the call in terms of the safety threat that was either identified through the CAN Center or through ER. And you have 30 days. That's not very much. And so the other question would be, one, it would be important to identify how you're going to mitigate for that safety threat. Not that you just did it, because done, right? You can just check it off. And so my question is, how are we getting the quality of how it's being done? Is it enough to ask for that perpetrator not to live in the current household? Is it enough to? What is enough? What is it going to take to actually create a safe environment for that kiddo? And I'm wondering the how, and not just that there's an I guess I'm asking, are you looking and evaluating for the quality of the practice, or just that it gets done?
That's a bit of a question. That's a bit more than just a safety plan. Usually those with safety plans, we'd be reevaluating at the end of the safety plan term whether we're keeping the safety plan for a week, 2 weeks, 30 days. But most of those who have still issues, we are opening cases. So that would be more of a case plan that we would keep assessing.
Okay. The reason I ask this is because we kept children in a living arrangement that created harm and risk to them and their safety. And so I'm looking at this tool that the supervisors are going to use to evaluate the safety plans that weren't in place for kiddos that are now going to be in place. And I'm asking, how are we going to qualify the work that has been done to mitigate or to create that safety for that child? And here I'm looking at a tool that checks off a lot of things, but doesn't tell me how is this the best way? How is this social worker mitigating for that safety for that child? And that is a question that I don't feel is answered by having this tool employed.
Supervisor, I just wanted to maybe make sure I understand your question by maybe offering an example to see if it gets at what you're asking about. If, for example, there was a circumstance where a social worker determined that a child was being neglected by the single parent with whom they live, and the safety plan to address that was to have the grandmother come live with the parent to help supervise and care for the child. Is your question, how would the supervisor confirm that having grandma come to live with that family is the right plan? Or is your question, how will the social worker confirm grandma's still living there and actually executing the plan, or is it kind of both?
It is a little bit of both, but yes, and thank you for that example. Yes, because as we may recognize from research and from just the work that you all do here, that this is a repeat cycle for many families, and it's generational being involved in some of our systems, right, unfortunately. And yes, is that grandmother the best person to be involved in that child's life?
And so I don't know if Melissa or Javier might weigh in on how does the supervisor assess whether the plan put together was a quality plan, and then also how will they help make sure that plan's being monitored?
Good afternoon, supervisors. I think the practice would be for the supervisors to check in with the social workers and weekly supervision to make sure that our social workers are checking in with the safety networks to make sure that the safety adult is checking in on a weekly basis per the safety plan, how it's been developed, right? So if the grandmother's supposed to check in weekly or daily for 30 minutes or an hour, whatever it is that we have developed to check in on the mom, that that they're actually doing that. So that's the best way that we can probably monitor that safety plan for those 2 weeks, a month, or whatever it is that we have developed the plan for, is through weekly supervision with our social workers, that supervisor is making sure that our staff is calling, making sure that they are doing the safety plan to fidelity, and going over to the home and making sure that they are checking in and with the mother, father, whoever it is that we are developed the safety plan with.
Okay, so then show me on the tool. Okay, so you're telling me how it would get done in real time, right? And I guess I'm asking how would the tool evaluate that? And I think I'd love to see one in the same, that the practice that you do, and thank you for showing me what that process could look like. It gives me a better idea when we have this example on the table. To make it a little bit more real, right? I'm just hoping that because safety plans we're not in the habit of developing them, and I'm sure that there's a lot of very skilled social workers that already have best practices that can recognize who may be a safe person, who may not be a safe person, but we also have a lot of really new social workers, right? And from what I understand, there's a lot of folks in ER that are relatively new. And so what I'm hoping is to ensure that there is a best practice that's being enacted that this tool is catching somehow. And it sounds like you're catching it through maybe some of that one-to-one supervision along with maybe this tool, which I'm satisfied with that answer. I just want to make sure that the tools that we're creating are effective and actually allow for what the practices that you actually take, that they're one and the same, right? So otherwise, why even either revise this tool and add it into it?
Supervisor, if I may, I think it's. I'm glad Javier walked through that example because it's two-part. Like this safety plan review tool is really to look at the documentation. So thus far, we've kind of showed you data, which is maybe not as deep a dive as would be helpful given like the importance of what we're discussing, that yes, we have safety plans in place. Yes, that we're checking CW, CMS, but what this is intended to do is look at the actual content of the safety plan so that we feel like it's thorough enough that we have, for example, you brought up the support network, right? That's really thoroughly documented and explained in the safety plan, that it's just not a quick note, but it's like it demonstrates the work that's been done to understand who's in that safety network, and that's clearly in there. Where through this CQI process, it's determined that maybe there's not enough detail, it's not thorough enough. That's the opportunity to work with the team, the supervisor, the manager, and the team to kind of deep dive and look at like how we can do this better, how we can be more thorough, how we can make sure that we're demonstrating that we're really thoroughly looking at the cases and following up. So we're going to come back with some of the results of that CQI at some point this calendar year. We're working really closely with CDSS to make sure that these tools are really, really high quality. And we can also come back and talk, I think, more about the practice of how we work kind of in terms of going out into the home and seeing what's happening there at the same time, because this tool is really around what's written, but there's a whole piece of the work that Javier and Melissa have described around going out, which I think is really critical, and we want to make sure that we are talking about that piece as well. So I hope that helps. That's how I think of it from a little bit more of a distant perspective.
No, of course. And listen, I appreciate this, and thank you for for helping me understand this a little bit more. I want to make sure that we don't fall into a practice where we're just checking things off. Well, we weren't even doing the safety plan to begin with. And I think it's something we need to recognize, right? If not enough people were doing it, it's either because, not because, you know, maybe they just didn't have the time. They were overwhelmed with a lot of other cases. Maybe they're just a very well-experienced social worker. And it's kind of something that they check off in their mind and get it done. Not everybody writes down a to-do list and gets it done, right? I don't want it to be just a to-do list. I want it to reflect how the best practices that we're using to engage and to prevent our kiddos from being harmed further. That is ultimately what I'm asking. And so however we get there is important to me. It is not important just to check off a list because CDSS is asking us to do it. I think the lesson here is that, at least the lesson that I want to see in this is I want to see how we are doing this, and how is a supervisor helping a social worker ensure that the practices that they're taking and putting into place are the ones that are going to mitigate, reduce risk, and increase safety for that kiddo. I think we're all on the same page here. And I can give you some of the feedback that I got in written form. I can send it to you so you could have it directly. I know I'm getting into the weeds here, but this particular issue was really important and something that we need to learn from, and from the investigation that happened, right? Unfortunately, our systems aren't perfect, and so I want to make sure that we get it right as best as we can. Okay, and also the last thing.
Can I add one more thing?
Sure, go ahead.
Just for clarity on the safety plan audit tool. So there is the tool that we'll be doing like kind of in real time as folks are doing their safety plans with parents. But then there's also a retrospective, which we're going to be looking back at the length of the safety plan, about monitoring and how often we checked in, that kind of thing. So I think that goes a little bit more to your question of how are we ensuring that not only what's written is safe, but we're doing what is supposed to be done.
Well, you bring up a really good point. Are we doing this, is this tool being utilized in the moment, within those first 30 days, so that we can actually catch in real time and give feedback, or is this always going to be retrospective?
So we are just launching it, but it is going to be both.
Okay, and what is the trigger mechanism that you're going to use to actually measure these things? Because kids come in at different times, and so what's in the system that is going to trigger this tool?
I don't know if Naveen can answer this one better, but I believe they're doing a random sampling.
That's right. You know, I think what would be helpful, so there's 6 tools that are being developed, and we're in the process of reviewing those with CDSS and also doing a lot of work with subject matter experts within the department. So what I'd like to do is come back to one of these meetings and outline the 6 tools and their utilization so that we're all clear on and some of them are in design phase right now, so because they're all part of the corrective action plan, and they're taking some time because we're doing a really thorough job to make sure that we're designing these in a way that is really going to ensure quality. So what I would recommend is we should have them all done by probably midsummer and approved, and then we come back maybe in August and walk through all of them, and really focus on that for the meeting so that we can all know what the process is to use each tool, what they're capturing, and then we even should have some data from this tool here, this first one that's been done. So I checked into one, we'll have the first report available, and by August it should. So we can kind of walk through all the tools, which will, even full transparency, be helpful for me to see in one place. And then we can look at the first round of the summary data.
Perfect. And your subject matter experts, I'm guessing, are not just those folks who are working with us on contract or as consultants, but they're also folks within the organization that are actually social workers from the different units?
Correct.
Okay. Alrighty. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And thank you for the presentation. Thank you for taking me through some of these examples. As you can tell, we'll continually ask questions about this, and not to question the quality of the work that you're all doing, but because we're in deep water here with the state, but most importantly with children, and the children who are going to feed our other systems that we want to make sure that we interrupt. So if I ask all of these questions, it's in an effort to make sure that we don't feed the system, right? Thank you so much for your presentation. Thank you for all the feedback. I appreciate it. And maybe I can get a second. I mean a motion.
Motion to receive the report.
Thank you. And I'll do the second. Go ahead, Camille.
Vice Chairperson Young
Yes.
and Chairperson Arenas.
I am a yes, too.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Awesome. Okay, so we're moving on to, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Oh, you'll be here for the next item. Yeah, we're here for item 7. This is receive verbal report from the Department of Family and Children Services relating to options to establish a child welfare community roundtable. Thank you so much.
Okay, you're going to hear from me quite a bit.
I was looking at them. Okay.
No, I'm gonna go through these two, and again, if Javier and Melissa have anything to add, they can do so. But I'll try to be brief because I know I'm taking up a lot of the space in this meeting. But this is a verbal update on the progress that DFCS has made in considering options for the Child Welfare Roundtable. So at the February CSFC, DFCS presented 3 options for the Child Welfare Roundtable that included, I think we had them A, B, and C. So A was leveraging the Child Abuse and Prevention Council, which I'll refer to as CAPC. B was establishing a work group of 15 to 20 stakeholders knowledgeable about and passionate about child welfare reform. And C was leveraging community service providers meetings regularly held by DFCS. So since the last CSFC meeting, the department's created an inventory of all the key meetings and points of contact should direction be to develop a committee, which we had started prior to February, but we refined that and made sure we had some additional membership information. Acting Director Wendy Kinnear-Rausch attended the March 14th CAPC meeting and presented the roundtable and facilitated a discussion during which the CAPC membership lifted up a few different pieces of feedback. They commented that were the roundtable to be incorporated into CAPC, it would be necessary to adhere to the Brown Act, which might limit participation somewhat. And specifically, it called out implications related to days and times that might impact participation in that meeting. They also talked about the subcommittee that was added by CAPC by vote. That would be one option, or repurposing the Interagency Collaborative Committee under the CAPC. But there wasn't like a movement to actually move forward with that. So it was more of a discussion on what the options would be, and there definitely seemed to be a focus on the Brown Acted components of the CAPC and its subgroups. As it regards option B, that remains an option to move, I think, more quickly to operationalize a non-Brown Acted advisory group. And then as far as the option C, that meeting can be repurposed. It's quite large and open to the public. So, for example, this month or at the next meeting, DFCS is holding a resource fair with community service providers that social workers and partners can attend in place of a larger community forum, and that kind of information sharing and resource distribution is really common at that meeting. So that's the kind of purpose that meeting currently serves, and it's fairly well received by all of the attendees. So it would really be repurposing that if we were to kind of shift this into the roundtable. So those are the 3 options, and happy to hear any feedback or discussion on those.
Thank you. And before we add our feedback, we're going to check in with our public.
Okay. We do have 2 requests to speak online.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
Our first speaker is iPhone. You will have 2 minutes to speak. Please go ahead.
Yes, I brought it up at the last meeting that one of the options should be having, parents who've reported that their children had been abused and the system just completely neglected them to be one of the people, one of the members of this newly formed roundtable. Because I think it's really important that we start being frank and honest and open about what's really going on when these private attorneys, these divorce attorneys, are influencing the county on whether or not a screening should take place. Like a person who's really sick, right, should never have this type of influence in our county. I urge you guys to Google Valerie Houghton, Houghton, sex trafficking. I posted several of her messages to me online on several websites. I mean, she says that pedophilia is part of gender identity. She says it's not a crime. And she says the only thing wrong with pedophilia is the stigma that's attached to it. I mean, this is deranged that this person is having such an influence over the county and preventing children from getting screenings and allowing pedophiles to volunteer at several schools in our county. I mean, this is madness. I urge you guys to allow these parents, because there's Violet Brooks and several other parents, Dayaparan, who have been affected by you. Thank you.
Thank you. And our next speaker is Paul Soto. Paul, you'll have 2 minutes to speak. Please go ahead.
Yes, Paul Soto from the Horseshoe. One of the things that I'd like to talk about, and it does need to be talked about within this context, is that many of the what's called stakeholders, they have a vested interest in participating in these programs, and that is that their particular nonprofit is going to profit from monies that is going to be funneled to those nonprofits from the outcomes of these meetings. Now, that needs to be talked about honestly, directly, and openly, and frankly. And there's a very specific reason why, is because there have been people in the past that have been participating in these nonprofits, namely Rebecca Armendariz, Councilwoman Rebecca Armendariz of Gilroy. Now, because of my advocacy and warning both Supervisor Ellenberg and Supervisor Chavez regarding the danger that she posed to the public 30 days before those boys were murdered. Think about that. 30 days before I warned both Supervisor Ellenberg and Supervisor Chavez that this woman was dangerous and that something needed to be done about her because of the dangers that she posed to the public, I was immediately arrested on that day that I produced that email to those 2 members of the board. 30 days later to the day, while I'm sitting in jail facing charges that were dismissed because I committed no crime, those 2 boys were murdered at her house by gunfire, the very means that I had warned. And she's very connected to all of these networks of nonprofits. So it's actually dangerous. It's dangerous to have these nonprofits exercise that much influence within the community, because what happened was that when I warned somebody about the danger that a nonprofit posed, those 2 board of supervisors.
Thank you, and that concludes public comment.
Thank you. I'm going to look to my vice chair.
No, I defer to you. I know this is your referral, and I think there's there's ongoing decision points to be made here, and thank you for that report. But I'm really interested in hearing the chair, which direction we should be heading into.
Oh, thank you, Vice Chair.
Sorry. And just really love your thoughts and collective thoughts on the desired outcomes. I think that'll help frame, our next steps here.
Yeah, I think this last came to to us. I think it was previous to you sitting on the board, Vice Chair. And one of the areas that Supervisor Chavez and I, we wrote the last kind of recommendations from the work that we were doing with through the ad hoc committee that we established around this issue. And one of the goals that we wanted to achieve is to have a outside task force, roundtable, council, something of the sort. And so we explored different paths in order to involve everyone. And I was invited to, at the same time that was happening, I think even previous to that, I was invited to a Project Phoenix. This is in honor of baby Phoenix and his death, and a lot of the stakeholders who were involved who wanted to just make sure that we had an improved process and improved systems. We're having a discussion, and then of course there were some other outside stakeholders that were also meeting with the county executive, and then of course we had the ad hoc committees, and from there we also had a lot of sub groups that were meeting, different stakeholders, and it was a lot of people meeting around the same subject, right, the same topic, and I think we were both there at this particular meeting, Dan, and I think at that time we said, well, why don't we, and I offered, how about if we just collaborate together and we all sit in one place and have the discussions in one place, and that way, one, it creates transparency, two, more effectiveness, and collaboration really is what it's meant to do. And so it's meant to host those folks who were already meeting independently of us, and they had been meeting, I think, about for a year at that point, but it's been longer, Vice Chair, now, and this is the folks from Project Phoenix, and then the folks who were just meeting in the ad hoc. We had been doing that for quite a bit, so I think almost a year as well. And so anyways, these were just parallel trajectories that we're all leading in the same direction. We're just not really crossing. So for me, I think I really wanted to see if the Child Abuse Council would take this on. I understand that they might be we might be hamstringed with the Brown Act, and for many reasons, and especially people who want to participate and just can't make it out to a physical meeting, won't be able to participate. And so I completely understand that. I think the next best thing for me would be to establish a child welfare community roundtable, which is what we had asked for in our referral or memo that we had submitted as the final recommendations from the ad hoc committee. That was the original intent. And I understand for efficiency's sake, I think there's already a group that's meeting, and I forget what you call it, a DFCS community forum. And I think because there's so many folks that may be leery about falling into something that's already pre-existing, and for efficiency's sake, I would say yes. Like let's reinvigorate this existing community forum group. But I don't know if that's going to create goodwill with the people who have established a separate track than any one of us have offered, right? And have been meeting independently on their own. So I think if we say, well, hey, just join this other group, it maybe lessens their purpose or their priority, and also could discourage the folks who are already participating, because I don't know exactly if those two objectives are going to align: the old community forum purposes and then the new roundtable discussions and priorities. So I feel like it would be easier if we just started a new one. I know that doesn't sound like that's easier. I don't know if we could try on a pilot basis to see if we can change this community forum. But I'm going to ask you that it not be like 8:30 in the morning, that this would be evening hours, that this would be a complete community grassroots kind of attempt to engage folks, that it wouldn't be like business hours. I don't know what that particular group, how it meets. I think one of my team members has attended in the past, or has been attending in the past. And I forgot what I was told about the time frame, but anyways, we could try and see if that encourages folks into participating, but it doesn't. I would really like to have an opportunity to either restart and have a roundtable, a community roundtable established. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense, Chair. And if you will indulge me, through all of the community engagement and the ad hoc discussions that were had, what was it that was missing, the missing from conversation at CAPC and at the forum? And I know that those are very different bodies. One is very almost prescribed in its function and purpose. But hearing from the stakeholders, what was it that they identified was missing from those two spaces or other spaces already, because I think there's great value in being responsive to stakeholders who have committed their careers and their lives to child well-being, and then for them to say on top of everything they do already,
You're
that
right.
we need another space, we need a community roundtable space, and I want to honor that.
Sure.
But what was it that was missing to help further solidify, I think, give staff direction in terms of how to develop this?
Well, CAPC respectfully declined.
Oh. I didn't mean to out them.
Declined, and also I think we recognize that we are bound by the Brown Act with CAPC, and so that presents certain limitations. And so I think that option is out, right? Sarah, is that
I wouldn't say they declined. It was more of a discussion of like how this might work, and I think one of the there was some discussion just around some of the Brown Acted nature of having the appointed members, putting some restrictions around just having it be a more open forum, where you could do hybrid, for example. You could do virtual versus as well as in person. You could do it adaptive and have it at times that work for different community members. And just the membership would take, if we wanted to add members, there's a process for that. So in terms of starting it up immediately, that felt like it would take more time with CAPC. What I would offer, because I think we really want to connect the stakeholder input with the work of CAPC, is that if we do a separate roundtable that's more versatile and open in terms of its membership, I would recommend they report regularly to CAPC with recommendations from their groups, so that that's incorporated and they can have a discussion with CAPC so that the two groups are communicating. I also think that as far as the work of DFCS, the board has heard updates around the system improvement plan, and there's a piece of that is very reliant on stakeholder and community engagement when we start to look at outcomes with the next round of the system improvement plan. And this group would actually be a wonderful avenue to have deeper discussions around how, as a county, do we address these issues, and we'd be able to do it kind of on a sustained basis. So I think there's value to this group, and I think there's value to the CAPC as well, and value probably with the two groups coming together to have discussions, because the group that you're mentioning and that you made the referral comes kind of organically in response to the child welfare reform efforts. And so I think hearing all those perspectives in one space would be a great opportunity for learning. So I think there can be coordination even if we have two different groups. So I just wanted to share that perspective.
Oh, that's interesting, that even if it didn't fall under the body of the CAPC, that it could still feed into the work that they're doing. And then eventually CAPC comes to this committee and reports to us what they're doing. I think that's a really interesting take. And back to your question, Vice Chair, what was missing is some of us were missing, like in project Phoenix, we were missing as policymakers, right? In our ad hoc committee that Supervisor Chavez and myself established, I think we had some of the stakeholders, but not everybody was speaking together. They were speaking to us, right? So it wasn't in collaboration. It wasn't like a crossover conversation. Well, sometimes it was, but it wasn't meant to be. The ad hoc was really taking a look at some of the priorities that the board had agreed that we would take a look at, and there were 3 areas that are kind of actually similar to how the CAP is set up now. To take a look at the workforce, to take a look at the safety of children, and to take a look at how the systems can be responsive. So they're very similar, and they have and I think that was meant to be very strategic on the part of DFCS to match some of those concerns. But what was really happening was these conversations weren't crossing over, and so then we would have to take time to learn about what is Project Phoenix saying and doing, because they had value and they had a lot of insight, and the family members actually were participating in there as well, and I felt a lot more grassroots. And of course, our ad hoc committee was, because it was ad hoc, we didn't have to do our Brown Act, and for the most part, it was in person, I think. Yeah, for the most part, I think it was 100% in person. So there's limitations there, and so I think a roundtable would offer an opportunity to have grassroots folks and people from social services. I think what would feed confidence and trust from a lot of the stakeholders is, and this is for the roundtable to be really independent, you know, to not be managed by a particular person. And I think it would be really smart if we contracted a consultant or a facilitator that would actually manage the group or help support the group, not manage the group, excuse me. Because I think the transparency and the communication is at odds with, you know, this is where people really feel that they're just not being heard, right? And so I think it's really important to feed the trust and the transparency aspect of the concerns of our community. But I'm, you know, like I said, I'm happy to morph the, what is it called, the DFCS Community Forum, but I would, you know, venture to say that we shouldn't probably call it DFCS Community Forum, for the sake of efficiency, but have it really be fit the needs of all of the stakeholders that we want to come into this system, because there's a lot of work that takes place in listening to folks in a group of people individually, right? And if we're all in the same place and being very transparent with one another and really just putting that on the table, I think that not only is going to improve what the work that we're doing, but it's also going to lead back to a culture difference in maybe in the systems, and breed confidence in a way that maybe has been lost over time. So anyways, I'm happy to have that repurposed, but like I said, only if we do this in a way that is, you know, after hours, that is convenient for folks, that is led independently, that it's not, you know, somebody from a member of DFCS, so that it is a little bit more neutral.
Thank you, Chair. I really appreciate that. And thank you, Sarah, for the thoughtful consideration that you've put into this as well. It sounds like just by virtue of even existing, right, advances the values of being inclusive of this broader spectrum of partners and folks engaged in the system to be able to provide feedback, and almost like a setting that's I don't want to say inconsequential, but you know, when folks come to the committees or to the boards, it's usually tied to a contract, report back. Yeah. But this is really an organic space almost to provide the shared experiences.
Yeah, we're
of how things are working out across the board there. So how do we move forward? I know today's a verbal report, and I assume that there'll be more further presentation in the future.
Yes, we can come back with updates on the progress.
Perfect. So, you know what, I'll make the motion so that we can move forward, repurpose the existing DFCS Community Forum into the Child Welfare Community Roundtable with the criteria that I have already expressed, and with the possibility of if this doesn't work for our partners and our stakeholders, that we establish then a community roundtable. You know, we've already explored the other options. The other options are, you know, actually one of the options is the CAPC, so that we don't have to kind of regurgitate this discussion and just move forward. I think that's it for. Is there another? Oh, I think it was what you had asked, is that this group could then feed into the CAPC, right? And I think I would like to see what that body looks like first before we ask them to report to the Child Abuse Council, so that it is more collaborative in nature. And, you know, I'm happy to have them report to this committee and give updates in terms of what they feel that they're providing leading up to committee. So I'll keep that open. I'll keep that out of the motion, and let the group dynamic explore that piece.
Happy to second, and just really appreciate basically by the time we have this roundtable, we could say that we went through all possible iterations of it. And I think that sets it up for success. So I want to just appreciate that. And thank you, Chair, and also former Supervisor Chavez, for leading on this item. Thank you.
And one clarification.
Oh, yes.
So, sorry, that just
Oh,
surprised
yes.
everybody. So is the motion at this point, this item did need to go back to the full board to effectuate the body being created. Is the motion at this point to do some more exploration or to advance it to the board?
No, because the board has already provided direction. They approved the referral last November for this body to be developed. We're just deciding what form it takes.
I believe the referral language, I can pull it back up,
okay,
was
please.
to go to CFFC, come up with options that would then be presented to the board. I can double check that.
Could you? Yeah, okay, I'll hold off to our motion, and then I'll move on to item 8, so that we can continue with the meeting. Thank you so much, Michaela. I had not checked our own referral, nor relying on this great memory post-pandemic. So we're going to move into item number 8. And once again, this is receiving a verbal report from the Department of Family and Children Services relating to a community-based social worker pilot program. Super exciting.
Okay.
Welcome.
Third time. In
Welcome.
the future, Melissa and Wendy will be covering this item as we ramp up this program, but I'll give a brief overview. So I think last month in February, we provided details on thinking around what we're calling tentatively the community-based social worker pilot. So this is the thought that we will station a social worker, at least one social worker in a school district, and we'll start with one district, and then we will expand to a second district. And the goal is to implement this in the next academic year 2024-25. And the purpose of the social worker in the school is to assist with partnering with school staff. So this would be teachers, social workers, school administrators on mandated reporting, and what are best practices around mandated reporting for suspected abuse and neglect, as well as helping social workers and school staff connect families with services as needed. So for families that may need basic needs or other supports that the county and partners can offer, helping to connect those families. So the social worker really would not be working directly with families. They're there to support the school district in those ways. So we had a very productive meeting with a school district in a community with high numbers of child welfare calls. So that's one of the criteria in selecting which districts we think would be most impactful to partner with. We discussed the pilot. The school staff was very excited about the prospect of partnering with the county, both in terms of improving the reporting process as well as connecting with services. And as next step, and we've met with, we started to meet around internally in the county around how to develop a memorandum of agreement. And so this, in April, we're right at the edge of March, but in April we'll be working with our call center staff and prevention bureau staff to do some co-design or co-creation around what the specific components of this program could look like. And so that'll take place in April alongside some additional conversations with the school district to get things moving. So we're really optimistic about this partnership. This first version, we're hoping will take place in a San Jose school district. And then for the second site, we'd really like to focus on South County if possible. And so we're also starting to do some outreach in South County for a partnership there. So that is where we are right now. We're pretty actively working on it, and the team at DFCS is very excited about this project.
Thank you for that verbal report. I think we still need to have public comment for a verbal report, so I'm going to check in with you.
Yes, that's correct. Sorry, it's a surprise again.
Thank you, Michaela. I love surprises from you.
All right, we do have one request to speak for this item.
Go ahead.
Okay. Our speaker is iPhone. You will have 2 minutes to speak. Please go ahead.
Yes, I think it's great that we're training mandated reporters outside of the county. But let me remind you guys that once child abuse is reported, and that's great that we report it, that we actually have to do something about it. Valerie Houghton, she says it's not rape if they want it. Now, a 2-year-old cannot consent. I mean, he relies on you guys to act. And you guys you're not acting. And I know it's out of your scope, this thing, but I was retaliated against further, and my daughter, my youngest daughter, was given to a person who previously drugged and raped a teen. And this was what the mother wanted, to give me custody of the child, legal custody, because she knew the danger that this man posed to my daughter. And Valerie Houghton, who was involved in all this, she says that she'll be pregnant by the time she's 15. Please, guys, I mean, she's sick. This is sickness. Pedophilia, child rape, this is sick. And you guys should be saying, this is yucky, what she's doing, what she's saying, it's icky. And when a report comes to you that a child is being abused, we need to do something about it. I urge you guys, please protect my children. Many of you have received emails from me. You know who I am. Please help my children. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, and that concludes public comment.
Thank you, and I'd just like to say that our public can be assured that our county takes all allegations of child abuse and neglect seriously. That includes rapid and cross-agency responses to such allegations by the Department of Family and Children's Services, local law enforcement, the Children's Advocacy Center, and the district attorney. And if you have any concerns, you can please contact the California Department of Social Services at 916-651-8848. Thank you. And so I'm going to move our discussion and see if our vice chair has any. Okay, go ahead.
As always, want to thank Supervisor Chair and former Supervisor Chavez for bringing this item forward. We're really excited about it. I've been sharing the news with stakeholders in my district and some school board members who are already lining up to say me too for future iterations of this pilot program. I know that we continue to further flesh out this program. I think I made this request last time too, but just really would love to know how this dovetails or works or collaborates or enhances existing services and resources such as schooling services and the place-based resource centers that we've received some presentation on today to further enhance the what we can provide for our families in terms of referrals. And I really am optimistic about future outcomes of this pilot to really provide tailored guidance and plans and resources for our families based on where they're at and their needs. And I think that when we have large, broad programs, maybe that tailoring is not doesn't always happen, even despite our best efforts too. So that's why I'm really looking forward coming out of this program. And clarifying question, I know that we're moving really fast, and there's some ambitious start dates, like beginning of the new school year for the Franklin McKinley District. Will this item be coming back on a monthly basis as a verbal report, or will there be or maybe both formal presentations along the way in addition to verbal monthly updates?
Sure, yeah, we can come back with monthly updates, and I'll add that the partnership with the other providers on campus is one of the keys to this. So certainly working with our schooling services partners, and I know you'll be hearing from them after this presentation. That would be a key partner, as well as if there's a family resource center on campus. We would want to be part of the intention of this, especially around the prevention and connections to services, is really leveraging the county and the partners that are working with campus staff on this. So yes. That will be, we can continue to report back on those partnerships as this develops, because I think during the planning and co-design phase, those will be some of the conversations that we'll be having with other entities that can help support the program.
Thank you.
Thank you. I also want to thank you for moving this really, I think it's a grassroots pilot, right? It came from one of the social workers, I think it's who's in the CAN Center, Maxine King, and it's so fabulous when you get to hear about it from the staff, and then it becomes reality, right? And because you are all the experts in your field, and it's so wonderful to see that some of that is incorporated into the work that we're doing. I'm really excited about this. I know that in the past I had one of the East Side school districts had mentioned, they were going to anticipate just this divulging of abuse as the kids returned to school, and that person got connected or woven into some of what the CAC does in order to better connect with law enforcement and facilitate reporting when that needed to happen. And so I think the schools are a perfect place, really just a perfect place. I applaud you for the work that you're doing. I'm excited to see what this unfolds and how it supports our families, especially with all that's going on at a national level. Anything that's place-based, I think, would be really helpful for our families. As sometimes schools have, especially through the pandemic, been transformed to community hubs, regardless of whether they have the money or the staffing or the expertise to do that. They've just kind of been pushed to the center of all of our families, and I think this is a wonderful way to continue that that framework for folks meeting our families where they're at, right? And especially where their kiddos are at. So congratulations on all the work. I would love to hear about the next steps and seeing how I can be supportive. So thank you for for that verbal report. We don't have to vote on this, correct, Michaela?
We should vote on the reports,
Yeah?
even if they're verbal.
Even if they're verbal?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Absolutely. No, that's okay. Listen, we've heard opposite in other committees, but okay, let's hear it from our vice chair.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to receive the report today with a request for monthly updates to the CSFC committee on the development of this program pilot.
Wonderful, and I am happy to second that.
Okay, I'll go ahead and do the roll call.
Yeah.
Vice Chairperson Young
Yes.
and Chairperson Arenas.
I'm in it.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Technically.
Motion carries.
All right, so we're going to take a step back now, and I have, I think, Michaela, you shared that your recollection is much better than mine, even though I wrote it.
No, not at all, just looking at the document, so.
No, thank you so much. All right, so we're going to have to take this back to our board. So the motion can be for us to have this recommendation of the DFCS Community Forum to convert or to transform into the roundtable framework. And if that body doesn't work for all those stakeholders, that we explore, once again, an independent body separate from the community forum. And so then the motion will be to cross-reference this to our board, correct? Awesome.
Oh, sorry, point of clarification. Did we want to, with this new information, did we want to further vet this program, the roundtable and committee, and then make the recommendation to the board to say either one or the other, like either the forum or an independent body?
I think we have to have an approval from the board in order for it to be formed and to be piloted, right?
So that's right, but the way I understood the referral language was the idea was kind of workshop the ideas here and then make the recommendation of this is what we thought.
Okay, so then what does that mean? Can we pilot it, explore it, and then take it to the board, or?
So I think we can gather information, we can talk with folks to actually pilot it, create it. It would need to go to the board. But the
Okay.
committee would make the recommendation based on the conversations and information that it was soliciting.
Sarah's trying to.
I can make a recommendation here. Perhaps what we could do is come back to CSFC one more time with some clarification around the roundtable being folded into the forum versus being a standalone group.
Wait
we
a
can-
minute, folded into
Or just
the forum?
repurposing. So to
Repurposing,
use your
yes.
motion
Okay.
language, use the community forum and translate that into the child welfare roundtable. We can look at that option and see if that will work versus creating a separate body. So we can come back with that recommendation, with an update that has more, has some suggestions on which one of those two options might best meet the needs and the goals that you described, Supervisor Arenas.
Perfect. So the motion will be for you to explore the transformation of the community, the DFCS Community Forum, to the Child Welfare Roundtable, and then return back to CSFC for an update. And the timeframe, you think?
I think
a
we can
month?
do this next month. We
Perfect.
just need to have some internal
right.
conversations, and perhaps maybe we can bring this up at the forum event in April as well, so we can get some
Perfect.
stakeholder feedback there.
Perfect. I think we've got it. Thank you for that.
Yeah. So was that the motion?
Yes,
Yes.
that's the motion.
Second.
Vice Chairperson Young
Yes.
and Chairperson Arenas.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Awesome. Okay, we finally got that down. Okay, so we are going to move into item number 9. And this is receive a report from Behavioral Health Services Department. Oh, by the way, thank you so much, both of you. I appreciate it. So this is item number 9. This is receive a report from the Behavioral Health Services Department related to schooling services initiative programs and projects. Welcome. We can almost hear you.
There we go.
There we are.
Good afternoon, Supervisor Arenas and Supervisor Duong. My name is Catherine Spears with the Behavioral Health Services Department, Division Director overseeing the Early Intervention School-Based Services. Today we have a presentation for you that includes a semi-annual report that includes cumulative information and data for quarters 1 and 2 of the current fiscal year. Next slide, please. In our focus today, we will have just a discussion about the multi-tiered system of supports framework, which will ground our work in schooling services and school-based services. We'll provide updates related to the school-based programs. We'll have a discussion on the school-based behavioral health resources through wellness centers and discuss next steps about sustainability and service expansion. Next slide, please. Just to ground us in our discussion today, the schooling services programs are aligned with a multi-tiered system of supports in school districts and schools. Tier 1 servicing family engagement activities for universal supports and services for all students and their families. Tier 2 services includes early intervention, more targeted and supplemental supports to address risk. And Tier 3 is a selected number of individual students to remediate significant challenges. And this is through our school-based outpatient program and school-based early intervention programs. Next slide, please. Our family engagement program is now with 27 school districts and has served over 4,000 students with referral and linkage to behavioral health and other resources. Schooling services coordinators have received over 4,700 referrals, and 81% of them have been successfully linked to services. Of those 19% that have not been linked, there was 4.5% of students and families declined services. 8% are currently were referred to services and waiting an intake date. 4% are waitlisted, and 1% has been unable to contact family. Another 1% has been unable to link to services. During the first 2 quarters of the fiscal year, the schooling services coordinators organized and facilitated over 500 family engagement one-time workshops, and this include over 65,000 attendees. Additionally, there were 76 workshop series that were completed and over 9,000 families attended. The prevention and early intervention program through our county contracted providers have been providing universal supports and services to almost 12,000 students and families, and this includes skill streaming curriculum in the classroom, parenting workshops such as Triple P Level 2 and 3, psychoeducation presentations, and targeted outreach and mental health promotion. Our PEI early intervention program has also served over 2,000 students with behavior support services, as well as brief early intervention therapeutic services. Our school-based outpatient program, primarily serving Medi-Cal beneficiaries, has served over 700 students year to date, and continue to provide services in groups and individuals as well as family services. Next slide, please. Our school-based behavioral health wellness centers, we have 3 areas of funding. The Mental Health Student Services Act, which is a partnership with Behavioral Health and the County Office of Ed. The Student Behavioral Health Incentive Program, which funded 6 wellness centers, which is a partnership with the Managed Care Plans and the County Office of Ed, as well as behavioral health being at the roundtable. And then lastly, our county's investment to the school-based wellness center program, in which 39 school projects have been awarded across 14 school districts, including charter schools. 27 wellness centers have been opened, and we have completed enhancing 8 wellness centers. There is 1 wellness center that has their soft opening in the end of April at Fremont High School, and we look forward to being a part of that occasion. Next slide, please. Behavioral health has received a grant through the Mental Health Student Services Act to look at sustainability for school-based behavioral health services. This grant will allow us to look at funding sources, various funding sources, and see the implementation and barriers of these funding sources. This grant will help build a process for a quality improvement sustainability role to help develop the sustainability strategies. The multi-payer fee schedule, school-linked fee schedule is currently rolling out, and there is 10 local educational agencies as we reported in this report, that is opted into the fee schedule. This fee schedule will allow for mild to moderate services being provided on school campus to be reimbursed by the managed care plans and commercial plans to the local educational agencies. As of today, there were 8 additional school districts that were added to the cohort that could start billing as soon as they build up their infrastructure. Behavioral health is currently meeting with school districts and other partners to look at opportunities and other grants, as well as service utilization and how we can best explore sustainability across the services that we are providing on school, as well as the Wellness Center grant program. Next slide, please. Service expansion. Behavioral health has also received another grant related to the universal screening pilot through the Mental Health Student Services Act. Behavioral health will lead a development of a universal mental health screening plan to implement equitable universal screening in local K-12 school districts. The screening will help build a universal mental health screening guide for California schools. Additionally, the expansion of school-based behavioral health services is currently in review as the Children, Youth, and Family System of Care with Behavioral Health has put out a request for statement of qualifications in last fall. And including in this expansion of school-based services through the RFSQ, we looked at the process of school selections and looking at school sites with an equity lens. We selected schools that are in high-risk zip codes, designated Title I schools, and high free and reduced lunch applications. These additional school sites have been identified to be part of our school-based services for next school year. Additional considerations as we looked at expanding services in schools, looked at meetings with our school districts and county contracted providers on areas of need and utilization, as well as needs of the student, location of school site in relation to existing behavioral health services in the community, and historical recipients of behavioral health services and full utilization of the program. We are currently meeting with school districts and superintendents and the Director of Student Services to review existing school site selections, explore the additional school sites, and identify additional school sites that have not made it on this list of school sites that we're expanding to, and exploring those school sites. And that concludes our presentation. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I'm going to go to the public first.
We do have one request to speak. Okay, so we'll go ahead and call that speaker. Our speaker is Paul Soto. Paul, you'll have 2 minutes to speak. Please go ahead.
Paul Soto from the Horseshoe. I appreciate the work that you're doing in this area. What I don't appreciate is the exploitation of this particular fact. Dr. Sarah Cody stated specifically and explicitly, racism is a public health issue. I would go so far as to expand on that and say racism is a mental health issue. So what you're doing is this, and I want this accounted for because you need to admit it, is the fact that you continue to exploit what has been happening in the Mexican community, in the Chicano community, and the South American and Central American communities in this city have been exploiting the labor, exploiting the people, and using the conditions that they are faced with in order to fortify yourselves with grant monies. This is what you're doing. And I'm sick of it, man. I'm sick of you guys continually applying for grants using the conditions that this county continues to exacerbate and then applies for grants to deal with the symptoms of it. I mean, come on, man. You guys got to really see this for what it is. And that's exactly what it is. It is a necessary, intentional, and deliberate exploitation of the racist systems that my community is forced upon. These issues are forced upon them through years, decades of segregation, decades of resource deprivation. And then you've got the nerve and the audacity to file grants and then say, oh, well, it's because they're experiencing these conditions that we want to help them? Why don't you start addressing the very conditions that create that? And I'll close with this. Martin Luther King stated very clearly, and I quote, that compassion is more than flipping a coin to a beggar. It is dismantling the edifice that produces them. Thank you.
Thank you, and that concludes public comment.
Thank you, Vice Chair Young.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. I saw the Hubbard photo in your presentation. I had a chance to go visit the Wellness Center there, and it was on the occasion of the ribbon cutting grand opening of the new FRC that's also there. So across the lot, we have, well, across the, not lot, but the doors, or the portables, one wing to the next wing, there's the Family Resource Center, and then there's also the Wellness Center, which I think every school in a high-need district deserves to have. By the way, the Wellness Center is beautiful. I think I wanted to stay. There was like aromatherapy happening. There was the sensory calming stations, and your staff there did a phenomenal job. And she was walking me through how, she worked with the students and got their ideas of what their safe space should look like, and then implemented it. So earlier we received, at the top of the meeting, at the top of the agenda, we received a presentation that also included closures of family resource centers. So I misspoke earlier, Chair, that I was asking about Dahl. I referenced it being in the East Hills area. It's actually in the Seven Trees area, so I confused myself geographically. But so is there a wellness center at Dahl?
That's at Franklin McKinley School District.
Yeah.
Correct. So after meeting with the superintendent, there is an SLS coordinator at every school site in Franklin McKinley. I'm not sure if there is a wellness center, but we could double check as well.
Yeah, and I realize I'm kind of asking you on the spot.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah, so there's school sites that have multiple centers, and then there's school sites that may not have any centers, but also in areas of high need. And at Dahl and also at Curiton on East Hills, where another FRC had closed. Very overwhelmingly supermajority Latino, Spanish-speaking, monolingual population, multi-generational households, and we know the statistics coming with those. That's like the 95127 zip codes, right? In the Seven Trees areas where high need happens, that still exist. So in the selection process, do we take into account what resources may or may not be existing on the school site?
Yes, we've had conversations with the school district as well as community county contracted providers to understand the needs of the school districts. Specifically with Franklin McKinley School District, we have expanded additional services to the school sites and really working closely with the school district to monitor where students may be going due to the school closures and changes in the schools. And so ensuring that there's behavioral health services on those campuses.
Thank you. And my line of questioning and thinking and discussion here is not to take one or the other away. I think Hubbard deserves to have both resources, and I think all schools in high need deserve to have both resources. But in a time when resources become increasingly limited, how do we ensure that every school demonstrating great need, has something? And if our programs are working together to make sure that we're dovetailing our resources in a way that ensures that coverage.
Yes, absolutely. That's a great question, Supervisor. We have also, again, worked with Allen Rock Union School District and Berryessa Union School District as they anticipated the school closures, and really looking at where we currently had services and where there weren't services, and adding services there. So we have two primary programs, the PEI, Early Intervention, where a lot of those services are for universal supports and services for both the parents and the students, as well as their family, providing positive parenting program, parenting coaching, workshops, and other activities, adding those primarily in those elementary schools and middle schools so that they have at least some services in all schools in those both school districts. So we are able to expand the services and, again, continue to work with the school districts on identifying what the gaps are.
Thank you. I'm going to include a request here that my office work with you and your team, similar to my request made of First Five earlier in the presentation, just to see, or even just to help us understand what resources are available to the Dahl school community, because they have lost a family resource center. And we've been receiving considerable feedback from the campus community there in terms of what resources may be available. And I'm going to include Curitin in that too, just to, let's start with working offline to help us understand what is there so we can help communicate that. And then if there are additional needs that need to be met, then maybe we could troubleshoot that and bring it back to a different time. But as of this time, the request is to work offline with my office on identifying the resources currently available for Curitin and for DAL. Thank you.
Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. It's really interesting, Vice Chair, how some of the school districts take advantage of the services and some don't, right? And sometimes even a school district that is supposed to be well-resourced or is recognized as being well-resourced, sometimes is not, right? And it has a lot of Title I schools within it. And it bears having us really take a look at what's under the hood and seeing who are we actually serving, right? And how is that getting done? It was interesting to hear that you have a couple of new sustainability measures or projects. It's a new project for sustainability. And this is to support the county school districts in sustaining wellness centers, which is part of the question that I was going to ask, because a lot of school districts are very concerned. They're saying, we're losing our wellness centers, and how can we keep them? And this Category 3 grant award, do you have a list of all of the school districts that are taking advantage of it, or has it happened just yet?
No, it's still in its starting phase of the project. What we are looking at first and foremost is the school districts that receive the Mental Health Student Services grant, and then seeing how we're sustaining services there, and then develop a strategy across the school districts that have wellness centers.
So the 7 wellness centers that have received the Mental Health Student Services Act?
Yes, it's coming from the same funding and grant source from the Mental Health Student Services Act first grant that we had in 2021 to now this Category 4 or 3 to help sustain them.
So only those 7 wellness centers will be able to apply for this Category 3 award to continue with? Because you just finished saying only those that have...
That's where we will pilot the sustainability planning with those school sites and school districts. But we plan to utilize the strategy across the school districts.
Okay, so you'll start there and expand.
Yes.
So if I could have the additional information on who those 7 are, and then how, and when do you approximate beginning the phase to, cast the net wider?
We hope in the next fiscal year. So this current fiscal year is the ramp-up period and the exploration and adoption of a plan, and then we will pilot it and then make it go for the wider network.
Got it. And so, okay. So at this point, it would only be 10. Okay. And I also wanted to know from the multi-payer schooling fee schedule update, if you could follow up with me and let me know what those additional 8 that will be coming soon.
Yes.
That would be wonderful. And the exploring sustainability, for what exactly is that doing with school districts? How are you exploring sustainability with school districts?
So we are currently looking at what existing funding they've already put into school-based behavioral health services, and then as well as what funding is grant or one-time funds, and how we can also leverage existing services and contracts that they may have. So as behavioral health has services on school sites, really looking at maximizing our contracts and services so that we can also they can also provide services where our contracts would not be providing services. So typically the Medi-Cal beneficiaries are being served through our contracted providers at the schools. And then for those commercially planned, they could either be served through the fee schedule or through existing services that they have, but maximizing our existing contracts.
Perfect. Wonderful. So you're making sure that nobody falls through
Right.
the cracks. So those that can afford a little bit more and, well, who can afford to pay a fee and aren't eligible for Medi-Cal will have an option to receive therapy or services, excuse me, whatever that looks like. The other question I had was relating to, oh, of course, now I can't find it. Okay, so I know that you have the different tiers, and it would be really wonderful to see the breakdown of those tiers, the tier services, and the schools that are, or school districts or schools that are receiving those particular services. For example, I know that you did, for the Tier 2 early intervention, you have 2148 students and families, and 768 students receiving Tier 2 early intervention therapeutic services, and that could be funded in the different ways that we just talked about right now. But it would be wonderful to see who's actually receiving the therapy. I would love to see I would love to see what schools that's coming from. And then the Tier 3 SLS, SBBH programs. I hate acronyms, but here we are. Try not to repeat everything. You have two programs underneath that, the SLS behavioral health and then the unconditional education. And I even though I read this, I don't understand what the unconditional education is.
Sure. The unconditional education program is similar to our outpatient program, but they provide unconditional or coaching to the school district and school staff regarding engagement, behavior supports. So it's all three tiers wrapped in one program, and it was a pilot before, but all three services, we have it now kind of in separate programs. So we have the family engagement program with the schooling service coordinators. We have prevention and early intervention. We have school-based outpatient. The unconditional education encompassed all three components and was only at a couple of schools across the county.
And it would be really interesting to see what that looks like, because I saw that it was 756 students and their families. I'd love to see what those...
Oh, the 756 includes the school-based outpatient. So approximately around 30 students are served through the unconditional education program.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. It still would be interesting to see who's taking advantage of this. Because one, I want to make sure if there are any in my district that need any support, I would love to support, but I'd also love to see how the resources are being spread out, because I'm going to... We typically see the schools that have more resources have the ability to apply for the grants, to incorporate new programs, and those who might not, just don't accept additional support, not because they don't need it, is because they just can't handle more. And that is an unfortunate dynamic, but a true dynamic, and I want to see how that plays a part here in the different tiers of the programs that you're serving. Okay, so what do we say to some of the, you're going to give me the list of those 7 wellness centers that we're going to directly support, But to the other wellness centers that are going to have to hang in there or shut down, they're basically, there is no other source of funding that we can help contribute to sustain their efforts.
We are encouraging all school districts to participate in the fee schedule as a sustainable, ongoing funding source. It may not support all or cover all costs, but it is sustainable and would generate reimbursement for the school districts. So a school district that has a wellness center, or school districts that are participating in the fee schedule are able to bill for all of the services that they're providing. Typically, they were not able to bill before. So we really do want to encourage that school districts really explore that as an option. And seeing that DHCS, Department of Healthcare Services, just issued out their latest report that 8 additional Santa Clara County school districts are participating, I'm hopeful that they are exploring this as an option for reimbursement and sustainability.
And this is the reimbursement model that was supported by the County Office of Ed. Are they the ones that were providing the technical assistance?
Yes. So the County Office of Ed in Santa Clara and Sacramento provide technical assistance. Is providing technical assistance across the state.
Got it. Okay, now it's falling into place. Okay. All right, those were my questions. I really appreciate it. I know that it's getting burly and out there with our kiddos in terms of need. I was just at a neighborhood association last night in south side of San Jose, and there's a teacher who was really trying to be engaged in our violence prevention initiative and trying to see how they can be involved, because one of the things that she had experienced was violence against her personally, her body. She got bruised by one of the students, and she was just noting anecdotally how she sees a lot more lack of regulation, a lot of anger in the students and in the across the school, and how she's incorporating some of ways to address the emotional regulation in her curriculum, and I thought that was just really neat of her to do. Obviously, it is fed by her own personal experiences, right? Because I think she thinks that this is part of the solution, and I thought, absolutely, this is fabulous. This is not something that the school is asking her to do. She's doing it on her own. She's engaging parents into the curriculum as well. And I thought, wow, just organically, she's just doing some of what I think is really fabulous and probably helps prevent kids coming into any further type of system, or at the very least, manages some of that, right? And so anyways, I just wanted to share with you, I don't know if the school is, and I can tell you later what the school is afterwards, but I thought, wow, I don't know, maybe this is part of this, some of the after effects or some of the connected schooling services influences that can actually happen on site at our schools. Either way, congratulations on all the work that you're doing. I know this must be heavy in terms of just workload and getting it all straight for all of our school districts, so I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, motion?
So moved. Motion to receive report. Thank you.
Wonderful, and I'm going to second that.
Okay, Vice Chairperson Young?
Yes.
And Chairperson Arenas?
Yes.
Thank you so
Motion
much.
carries.
Thank you. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Alrighty, we are almost finished. Okay, so we are at our announcements, and we are going to hear from a couple of folks on the dais, and I apologize we didn't begin with introductions at the beginning of this meeting. I apologize, and so if we just go down this path here and hear some announcements from all of our different departments and divisions.
Good afternoon.
Starting with Dan. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Supervisors. Daniel Little, Social Service Agency Director. Just want to recognize the work that our DEBS Employment Services have done. They've actually been invited to share their strategies and practices at the state's CalFresh Employment and Training Annual Meeting. Our CalFresh program is one of the top performing programs in the state, and we're honored to be invited and participate in that meeting. I also wanted to recognize somebody down to my right, our new DEBS Assistant Director overseeing our incredible benefits programs, Robert Sacasa, comes to us with just a wealth of information, having been with DEBS for a significant amount of time and has been instrumental to a lot of the work that we've been doing, so we're excited to have him. Also, wanted to highlight some of the incredible work happening within the IHSS program in DOS, continuing to see increase with individuals reaching out. So we had 6,500 calls in February. Our average phone wait time is around 2 minutes, and still seeing around 2,000 lobby visitors. So doing an incredible amount of work even with the increase in need that we're seeing for the community. So thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? You know, feel free to, anytime. I won't check with you every time, but just let me know if there's any questions. Go ahead. Awesome, sir.
I was going to ask,
Oh, absolutely, please.
maybe it's a personnel, well, welcome, congratulations. And Iona?
Ilona, yep.
Ilona, yeah.
Yeah, she's our DEBS Director.
Okay.
Yes.
But will she be at the meetings in the future, or?
Yeah, actually, she's out today, so Robert was sitting in for
Oh,
Ilona.
sorry,
Yes,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, just okay. Great partnership, and I just want to make sure where everybody was. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Okay.
It's all you, Sarah.
Good afternoon. So I had a request to provide a status update on the child care expansion grants, which are being overseen in partnership between the Office of Children and Families Policy and Valley Health Foundation. So a lot has happened over the last several months, and we're closing in on finalizing the grant-making process. And as a reminder, this is American Rescue Plan acts that have been allocated to a grant program that allows local child care providers with a focus on infant and toddler and children with special needs to access American Rescue Plan Act funds to add slots to their programs either through construction grants and or through operational grants. So the Office of Children and Families Policy gets regular, very thorough updates from the Valley Health Foundation that's administering the grant. And once a grant agreement is finalized, we receive details about the provider, including the business name, award type, amount, the location. And to date, we have made 35 grants totaling over $9.5 million. And these are all, again, awarded to expand childcare access. We have a remaining balance of approximately $2.5 million to be awarded, plus some contingency funds should some of the costs overrun. So we are closing in on the end of the grant making process. For center applications, we've made 17 grants in the amount of $7.65 million across 16 providers. This includes 3 providers that received funding for both construction and operational grants. So this is a huge amount of additional spots because centers tend to have the largest slots that are added through these grants. For family child care applications, we've made 17 grants, and those have been awarded in the amount of $1.9 million. So those tend to be smaller grants. And this includes 16 unique family child care providers. We're about in midway through the expected total grants to be funded. So most of the remaining dollars are for family child care centers. Some of the providers have hosted opening or press events, and I want to note that on April 11th, the Joyful Learning Center will commemorate their Family Child Care Grant Award to open a new center. So they're going from providing small family child care home services to opening a center with significantly increased number of spots for kids. And that's really focused on serving children with disabilities. So they will be doing a celebration event on April 11th, which everyone is welcome to join, and I will try to stop by. And as we learn about events, we'll make sure to share the information with board offices. So we're very excited, and it's always the highlight of my week or month to get to go spend time in a child care center where there's new slots opening. So I can continue to provide those updates.
Congratulations. That's a lot of really wonderful work. Thank you. Go ahead.
Don Simone, Child Support Services. Nothing new to report this month.
Wonderful. All right. Well, any questions, Vice Chair? Okay. Perfect. All right. So that, yes. Yes, ma'am. Oh my gosh, we ran out of space over there. And we're like,
Yeah, I've been hiding over here the whole
sorry,
time.
Mariel. Oh,
no
please.
problem. Mariel Caballero, Deputy Director, Probation Administration, here for Chief Burchard. We have quite a few announcements, and since I know I'm the last thing standing before this meeting being adjourned, I will read them very quickly.
Don't have to. Please don't.
The Santa Clara County Pop-Up Court and Resource Fair is being held tomorrow at Wheeler Auditorium in Gilroy from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. There's going to be a host of activities and services there, including some really interesting things for pets. So I was super excited to see the partnership with our South County shelter. For NSU, the Neighborhood Services Unit, there's going to be a girls empowerment event at Polito Pro Fitness in Gilroy on April 5th from 11 to 2, and that's open to girls from Gilroy Unified School District, and we've sent out notifications to all of our partners. On International Women's Day, over 100 staff from the probation department participated in a field day that yielded 143 contacts with probationers and 86 attempted field contacts. We were so excited to see this amazing work, especially for a single event. Staff were engaged in the event. They enjoyed participating across the divisions, including our EMP counselors who work for the institutions. And then staff, as part of the day, staff attended a briefing. They reviewed an operational plan for the day. They reviewed field procedures, and then they debriefed at the conclusion of the event. So that was an exciting event. And also our staff did some great decorations in honor of International Women's Day. And as you know, a lot of our probationers are women, so it was great to see them participate and be honored. 6 youth from various pods at the James Ranch participated in the Dream, Discover, Decide 2025 College and Career Fair at the Martin Luther King Jr. Library. The College and Career Fair featured universities, community colleges, and job training and support programs throughout the Bay Area. The purpose of the event was to promote college and career exposures and exploration among justice-impacted youth in Santa Clara County. And then in collaboration with the County Office of Education, Juvenile Hall has a culinary class that is offered to all units on a rotating basis. The instructor and chef has been creative in finding ways to prepare food using equipment that prioritizes safety within our facility. And youth participating in the program will have the opportunity to achieve a Serve Safe certification, which can be applied when looking for jobs in the food industry once they're released. So that concludes my announcements.
Perfect. I love it. Okay, thank you, everyone. This is adjourning our meeting, and our next regular meeting is scheduled for Thursday, April 24th at 1:30 in the same place. Thank you. Have a great day. I think we want to hear a gavel. All right.